Me Birnbaum and Mike Herzing.
All right, welcome back. Let's talk wheels. All right, folks. Jeremy, let's talk about getting our vehicles ready for winter. Okay, we got a few minutes, and it's for parts of the country. It's already freezing cold. You're up in Northern California, so it's getting pretty chilly there at night.
Yeah, we've definitely seen it. When we're trying to call people, see if they're interested in selling their cars right now at Classic for auction, and a lot of the response you get, especially from the East Coast, is I've already wrapped up my car for the winter. It's already inside and covered, and I can't get photographs. So it's a big deal for people on the East Coast, especially in the Midwest, places that experience very low temperatures and very wet winters.
Mm-hmm. Well, people don't realize that, your coolant will change, the pH balance will change in the coolant. All of a sudden, it will start corroding something that it used to protect, especially the old green coolant. And people think, I'll just get rid of that green stuff and go to something that'll last longer than 2 years or something, and I'll go to the 5-year coolant. Well, when you do that, you've got to get rid of every drop of the other stuff. You've got to totally get every bit of coolant out of the engine and everything. Otherwise, you'll end up with a problem. You'll end up turning something into gel. And so,
And is that just the chemical makeup of the coolants? One doesn't really jive well with the other. Right. I've always been told using GM and you get their orange coolant or whatever it is, and you stick with that, and you're not supposed to mix.
That's pretty much you're pretty much right. If whatever it came with is what you probably ought to stick with. Otherwise, you've got to if you're doing an engine rebuild and you've already got everything all apart, everything. Okay, yeah, I'd change. I'd go to the Asian coolant. Okay, I'd go to the red or the really bright orange stuff like Toyota uses. I think it works the best, which is what motorcycles use and things like that, because it doesn't have all the phosphates in it. The OAT and the HOAT coolant. I really like that. Okay. But if you're not getting it completely out, you're going to end up with a problem. So anything the best is just put back in it what it came with. That's the best. You know what I mean? If you're not doing an engine overhaul and that kind of stuff. And, otherwise, if you have old coolant, you've got these plastic radiators nowadays they've used for, 25 years. The plastic will get brittle and everything. And all of a sudden it blows out or it cracks. The fresher the coolant you have in there, the better that stuff lasts. That plastic will last a lot longer with better coolant. Everything will let less corrosion. The seals on everything will be better. The bearings will last longer. Everything works much better when you have fresh coolant in there. No corrosion. The pH is right. So, the bottom line is change your coolant. It's not that big a deal. Just every you bring couple up of years.
The big scary word there to me is corrosion, right? Yeah. Everyone thinks, okay, my coolant is in my motor to keep the motor running cool, and and I'm using the brake fluid is so I can stop my car. But in reality, you're using those type of materials and chemicals so you don't develop rust in your brake lines or in your engine block. That's what the coolant in your brake fluid is also providing. And so by changing that, you ensure that there's no water in your system and you won't develop rust. But the longer you let those sit and you wait on those, they start to break down, they start to let water in, and then you start to develop rust and corrosion inside your systems, inside your braking, inside of your engine cooling. And that's when you start creating even more problems. And we talk about preventative maintenance and what it does for your motor. And this is the opposite. If you don't do it, you're causing issues for your motor.
Boy, sure do. You sure do. And it's just going to cost you more money. That's all. And strange you on the hottest day, even the way it doesn't matter. Your engine runs the same temperature, whether it's a 100-degree day or a 70-degree day or 60-degree day. It runs basically pretty close to the same temperature anyway. And it makes a big difference. But basically the additives wear out, and that's the problem. And then the fresh coolant will make the hoses last longer. Everything will last longer, but it's just everything deteriorates, and it's so easy to lose track of this stuff. I mean, especially if let's say you've got a couple of teenagers that you're in your house. All of a sudden, you've got a fleet of 4 cars. You, your spouse, your 2 kids. You've got a fleet. And if you've got a classic car, you got 5 cars. You've got to pay attention to miles. When do you have to do an oil change? This kind of stuff. So, I trained my kids. Tell me how many miles are on your car. You keep up with this. This is when you need to do an oil change. This is when you do a coolant change. If your car, breaks down, it's on you. I'll be glad to show you how to do the maintenance. But if you skip a maintenance and your car breaks down, it's your fault, not mine.
I tell everybody, the smart thing to do is to keep a little book in your car. That way you can keep all the notes. Change the oil, change the this, did that. A lot of people say, yeah, that's a great idea. Never do it, never put it into practice. And that's why Mike and I talk about, getting your car ready for winter. So that's just in your brain during the winter time. You don't even have to look at the book. You just know these are the steps I have to take for my vehicle for this year. And you get into a routine and the rhythm and you do it every year and you don't have to worry about it. The issue becomes when you go, did I do that last year? Did I do that this year? And you have no recollection. And then you go, oh, maybe. And you push it. The worst thing you could do is just change your coolant again. It costs you a little bit of extra money and you have some peace of mind. But when you don't do it and you go, oh, I'll just wait till next year. Now, all of a sudden you're extending or you're opening yourself up to possible issues.
I remember being a kid and it would have a freezing day, getting ready to have a freeze come in. We'd have the fall and all of a sudden to be a freeze. And my dad and I would go out and in the driveway and drain the coolant. And he would take it up to the auto parts store and they would dispose of it. And we would buy some coolant and put it in in the cars. And this was like in the 60s. And, it was like the day before it's freezing, it's going to freeze tonight. And we would do it that afternoon, and I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
And I remember
it's always nice to do it toward the end of your summer, spring.
It's getting dark.
Like, okay,
it's going to freeze that night. It's getting dark, and we're doing this, at 4:00 in the afternoon. And then we're going to wrap the pipes in the house and this kind of stuff. I'm like, come on, pops, and we're under the car draining the radiator. I'm like, all right. And then you start the car up and let it circulate, and then we would change the hoses and this kind of stuff. So I learned about all that stuff the hard way. And I've had friends where their engine block broke, but water works great. It just your car corrodes, engine corrodes. So, and it'll freeze. So you don't want to use water. So they develop coolant and it helps keep it cooler and it keeps it from corroding. Okay, cool. But that's just how it works. So I don't know, folks, but if you don't maintain these engines, the average age of a car is like 12.2 years now in the US of a vehicle. And so they're lasting a long time. I see cars all the time with 300,000 miles on them and they run great. I know one of my neighbors has a Chevy pickup truck and it's got 280,000 miles and it runs wonderfully, and he gets 18 miles a gallon and he wouldn't consider selling it. And it's like a 2008 or something. And, and it just, my farm truck's got 150,000. It runs great. So, but it's been maintained and this guy's truck has been maintained and he fixes stuff when it needs to and he maintains it and it hasn't broken down and it probably won't. And you do the best you can. You've got miles on your vehicles. So, it's just this the way it is.
And you realize when you have miles on your vehicles, the only way to extend those miles is by treating them well. There's no way to beat your cars up and then expect them to just turn on every day.
That's one thing the military always would train people is maintain your stuff and it will be good to you. And the military did that. And every time you sold something to the military, any kind of a vendor sold anything to the military, it had to come with a manual and a maintenance schedule. And that was something that was very smart. I remember when the Honda and everybody brought cars in the U.S., they always had a maintenance schedule and people followed it. Volkswagen too, the old Volkswagens. And that's why they held up so well. Otherwise, if you didn't maintain a Volkswagen Beetle like yours, they fell apart. But if you maintained them, boy, they lasted forever. And
nowadays the machining is so good. You're not worrying about some of the things that we worried about in the 60s and 70s with motors. It's just making sure that you keep up on all the things to take care of them.
Yes. As a matter of fact, don't forget, folks, that you can catch the show as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Audio Boom, SportsMapRadio.com, and of course, Classic.com.
The podcast contains this show.
Painting your house today, SNK. Painting your house. S&K Painting provides exceptional painting and refinishing services to the Mahoning Valley and surrounding communities by being an industry leader in our field, focusing on customer service and delivering extraordinary results. We offer interior and exterior painting, and we specialize in cabinet refinishing with affordable cabinet solution. Call S&K Painting for your free estimate at 330-505-1910.
S&K Painting your house today.
The year was 1907. The Cubs won the World Series, and the Ford Model R hit the assembly line. While here in Ohio, school administrators came together to form the Ohio High School Athletic Association. One thing that hasn't changed since 1907 is the dedication of the OHSAA to education-based athletics in Ohio. School sports teach responsibility, sportsmanship, and life lessons that stay with students long after their playing days are over. The OHSAA seeks to prepare students not for the next level of sport, but for the next level of life.
This is Everett Fitzhugh, the radio voice of the NHL Seattle Kraken, and you're listening to the home of the Youngstown Phantoms, Western Reserve Radio.
Have a great week.
You're going on a trip, but where are you going to stay? How much will it cost? Well, it'll cost less by booking on besthotelrates.com. BestHotelRates.com works with all the top hotels in the country while delivering you great hotel and room choices for the best prices. Why wait? Go to BestHotelRates.com, enter your email address, and start shopping for your next hotel room. BestHotelRates.com, it's in the name. BestHotelRates.com.
Test your skills with Prize Picks on game day. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projected stats, and place your entry. You can even place entries for games happening right now, even though they've already started. Halves, quarters, and other in-game options are always available on Prize Picks. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/gridiron and use code GRIDIRON. That's code GRIDIRON at prizepicks.com/gridiron.
Sports Map Tonight with Luke Morrow.
But the most annoying part about flying, of course, is always the people. I can't stand the people that cut the line. As soon as the plane lands, they're up out of their seat and they're running towards the front of the plane. And especially when I try to stand up to get out of my row and they don't stop for you, they just keep passing you.
Oh, man, I think we'd be plane enemies.
You and I?
I think so.
Why? You're one of those? You're getting right off the plane?
I am one of the guys who try to jump and rush off the plane. But I will let people in if they're like, people keep passing them up.
Yeah.
I will let them in line.
Oh, well, at least you'll do that. Unbelievable. You're reclining your seat. You're cutting to the front of the plane.
I only recline my seat with kids. That's the only one.
Oh, okay, if you say so. What about when it comes to boarding the flight? Do you wait till your zone, or are you up, like, hovering around?
No, I wait till my zone.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, but oddly enough, they always think I'm military whenever I come.
Oh, really?
Like, I always get asked.
Yeah, I can see that. You fit the role.
Sports Map Tonight, weeknights from 10 to 1 Eastern.
Children are the greatest joy and our best hope for a better future. Friends, they are the future. But did you know that millions of kids are facing hunger every day? Food is not just food. It's energy, health, confidence, hope, and even love. Yes, love.
Thank you!
Learn more about how No Kid Hungry is helping end child hunger in America at helpnokidhungry.org.
Wake up call! There is a lady who is deciding to sue the Atlanta Braves. According to the lawsuit, defendant Soler threw the ball overhand with great force and intensity in the immediate direction of Norris. Her name is Myra Norris.
Okay.
The ball allegedly hit Norris directly in her right eye, causing extensive and excruciating injury to her right eye.
This is a really interesting case for a lawyer.
The husband is also...
The husband's in on this too?
This is what he had to say. He said that he has suffered injury related to his loss of companionship, love, affection, and intimacy in his marital relationship.
There you go. So basically, he doesn't find his wife attractive anymore, or she doesn't find him attractive,
or she just, I got a headache.
Yeah, there you go. You know how married men would be multimillionaires if we could just go to court for this? Are you kidding me? I'd be a trillionaire if I could sue based on excuses. Are you kidding me?
Wake up call with Tony V and Ron Culver. Weekdays from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern.
Wake up call.
You guys want to kick field goals all game? Is that what the league is coming down to now? Do you know how many box scores I look at where I see a kicker kick 4 field goals in a game now? It happens all the time.
The offense seems to be able to move the ball in their first 50 pretty easily.
Exactly.
Once they get past the 50, everything gets stalled. But now you have kickers where it's like, oh, let's go for the 50-plus yard field goal. He's consistent.
At this rate, kickers are going to start making $20 million a year.
It's a kicker's league, Tony.
Wake up call with Tony D and Ron Culver. Weekdays from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern.
Youngstown, Warren, and Salem's local and national sports talk can be found on TuneIn and the Live 365 app at Western Reserve Radio. WRDB, The Scourge.
Whether you are a professional football champion or a fantasy football champion, Martusio Chiropractic is the place to recover from all your sports injuries. Proudly serving Trumbull County, Martusio Chiropractic is located at 369 Niles Cortland Road in Warren. Martusio Chiropractic accepts most insurance plans, now accepting new patients and offering some same-day appointments. For more information or to make an appointment, call Martusio Chiropractic at 330-856-9595.
Jesse's Dairy Cove is a hometown favorite, located at 3743 State Route 46, across from the gazebo in Mineral Ridge. Enjoy all of your favorite ice cream. We have over 32 hard scoop and over 40 soft serve favorites. We also have a large food menu, including homemade chili sauce, sloppy joes, pulled pork, fresh cut French fries, and mac and cheese. This fall, we'll start our homemade cookie and party trays. Visit our website at jessesdairycove.com to see our menu. At Jesse's Dairy Cove, we appreciate your business.
Western Reserve Radio is the Valley's online source for sports talk and local live events. Tune in and be a part of their live weekly shows, as well as all of the hard-hitting action of Youngstown Phantoms hockey, high school football, and the GDFL. Find them at westernreserveradio.com. Tune in and the Live 365 app to be a part of the area's sports conversation. Be sure to visit them on Facebook at Western Reserve Radio and on Twitter at WR_radio.
Mill Creek Golf Course has been the Valley's leader for golfing fun since 1928. It features 36 challenging holes designed by the legendary Donald Ross and was voted a top 30 municipal facility by Golf Week in 2012. The Mill Creek Golf Shop is a certified Callaway Golf custom fitting center and it is stocked with your favorite golf apparel and accessories. Mill Creek Golf Course is now booking tee times for this year's golf season. Please call us at 330-740-7112 or online at millcreekmetroparks.org.
It's time to kick back and listen to the sports page with your host, Pat Lucia, right here on Western Reserve Radio. You can call the show at 330-707-4202 and tell everyone what's on your mind in the wonderful world of sports. Now, here's your host, Pat Lucia.
Saturday morning sports page, Pat Lucia, 330-707-4202. Get in and talk sports. We do it every Saturday morning here on Western Reserve Radio from 9 to 11. And we have a lot to talk about in the world of sports. Yes, we do. It is finally the Ohio State University will take on Michigan today at 12 o'clock. Finally, the game is here. Buckeyes roll into this game a 3.5-point underdog. So basically, if you do take Michigan, you'll lay 3 and a hook. We'll have to wait and see how that works itself out. We'll look at the bowl picture. A lot going on there. Florida State and Washington. If they do go undefeated, I believe they will get in, which basically means somebody's going to be left out. A one-loss Texas team potentially could be left out. Then obviously you have to figure the winner of Ohio State, Michigan will play Iowa next week, and we assume they will win that game and get a Final Four spot, which that leads us to one spot remaining. We know that's going to be the SEC champion, which it'll either be Georgia, Alabama, which therefore means one of those two teams will not make it, and Texas, a one-loss Texas team, would be outside looking in. And again, this is if Washington wins out, Florida State, who will, I believe, have a third string quarterback. But if Florida State can win out, they beat Florida today, win the ACC championship next week, they get a Final Four spot, because if Washington and Florida State are undefeated, they are getting in, which means, again, the one-loss Texas team will be sitting out, and the loser of Ohio State, Michigan is out, which I think we could pretty much bank on that. And then the loser of Bama, Georgia for the SEC title, they will be out. So there wouldn't be another team. There won't be a conference with two teams in the Final Four. Like last year, Ohio State and Michigan both made the Final Four. This is providing Florida State wins out and Washington wins out. Both would be undefeated, and they definitely get a Final Four spot. They are not going to leave an undefeated team from a Power 5 conference out of the Final Four. And obviously, Dave Clark is here, joining me as always, 330-707-4202. We have to look at the NBA. We're not looking at the NBA picture. It's end of November. We won't be looking at the NBA picture for what, Dave? At least 2 more months, 3 more months.
One thing I give them credit for is creating that.
Oh, that in-season tournament. Yeah, you do have to give them
I give them some.
Yeah, you got to give them a little kudos to try to spark some interest.
Well, not only that,
and they are interesting games.
Yeah,
too.
and they're playing hard.
They play hard. The players are playing.
They're playing hard in that tournament.
Yeah,
they're competing hard in that because it's a tournament. That's just the ego. And I don't mean it's not a bad way. It's just, hey, you're a professional athlete. You like to compete, and when it's that something's on the line for it, you compete.
Right.
And that's what they're doing. So that was a good thought to put that in there, because usually these games goes take a nap somewhere.
Yeah.
Because guys just don't be. I mean, they play hard. I don't want to judge that, but it's a long season. And a lot of times you see guys don't play as many minutes and different things, rest. No, these guys that usually be sitting out be on that tournament, which is Tuesdays and Fridays, I believe.
Yeah, Tuesday, Fridays.
Do not sit out games.
No, they don't.
They're playing in that, and they're playing hard.
I like it.
Yeah,
I mean, I got to give them credit too.
Yeah, they had to. You got a long season. You did. You got a lot of
throw something in there.
Tiresome things during it, but those have been good.
Yeah,
good idea.
Speaking of good, let's look at what's not good. Okay. This set of games we had, these 4 games that we saw this holiday weekend.
What games?
The 3 games on Thursday and the game yesterday for the Jets. Okay, I got to get this off my chest. I just Riverboat Ron, he's gone.
Yeah, no, they already.
He's history. Yeah, Riverboat Ron Rivera is gone. They're going to fire him.
No, he's already fired.
Oh, they fired him.
Yeah, they showed it yesterday.
Oh, they did it yesterday. Thank you.
Showed it.
Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't see that, Dave.
Yeah,
Clark.
they fired him.
They did fire Riverboat Ron.
Because
they did fire
the coordinator or somebody.
Del Rio. I thought they fired Del Rio yesterday.
Yes, a different name I've seen. They might have did Del Rio too.
They did fire Del Rio.
And not maybe they didn't do Rivera first. Maybe it's just Del Rio.
Del Rio got fired.
They said, I remember saying, stay tuned. It did. It says, stay tuned for information on the rest of the coaching staff. I really think they're going to make
our
guy from KC is going to take
the enemy.
The enemy. I really believe that might happen.
Well, what I really hope is this. I'm afraid this is going to happen. I'm afraid they're going to do scorch to the earth. Everybody goes, the enemy. Everybody, they all go.
Mm-hmm.
Or the owner says, okay, since the enemy just got here, we're keeping you, and then they tell the enemy, you're the guy, you hire your team. You're the guy, you're going to be our head coach moving forward. You're going to hire the team.
Yeah.
You're going to keep whoever you want to keep and get rid of. It's your team. Here's a 5-year contract. So many million a year, like they always give these guys, and let the enemy be the guy and run the team.
Mm-hmm.
Or the owner's going to say, Eric, you're a nice guy, but we're getting rid of everybody. I want to start brand new, and I'm going to go find somebody. So we'll wait and see how this turns out. but Riverboat Ron's got to go.
Yeah, and I seen they had that information up there, and it might have been Del Rio, but
But
I
Del
was looking,
Rio
I was
got
like, what?
fired.
Yeah, and another offensive coordinator, another coach got fired. I forgot his name, and it says stay tuned for more.
Okay.
On the Redskins coaching situation. So I thought Rivera's name, well, his name was on that thing of them talking about getting rid of. So
I got.
You don't see anything yet?
The only thing I do have right now on NFL.com is and this was as of yesterday, the Commanders did fire defensive coordinator Jack Del Rio was the one that got the axe because of the blowout. But, I watched that game, and here's my take on it. It was in the third quarter. Washington's got the ball. I think they were down 10 points, maybe.
Yeah.
And it was 4th down and 1, and they were like at their 33-yard line. And I thought, okay, punt the ball, put Dallas back. They go for it. Sam Howell throws some pass that goes nowhere. They give Dallas the ball, like right there, deep in their own territory.
Yeah.
Like that's all it was. It was like giving your dog a big steak to eat. Because Dallas just looked at that. They were probably drooling at the mouth. Yeah. Oh, okay. 2 or 3 plays later, Dallas walks into the end zone. Game over.
Right. That's not the Jets defense. That's not the Cleveland Browns defense. That's not the Pittsburgh Steelers.
No.
They may think about taking a chance to do that. This defense
not
can't
that defense.
Not all the changes they done made in that defense and getting rid of guys and all that. You can't do that. Not with that offense. I'm if anything, I'm gonna give Dallas that. They haven't been able to beat the stalwart teams as of yet.
No,
they can score
right.
No matter who they play. They still can score. They just can't beat those big time teams.
No.
So far. We'll see what happens. Down the road, they got some. So we'll see if they'll do anything there. But no, you don't do that. Washington, you don't do that.
No. You don't have a good.
You just got to punt it and hope the defense can get a 3 out somewhere, get the ball back, try to score. You were within distance at 10 points. You are in distance because they were competing early.
You're a strike away. You're within.
Yeah.
You're 10 points. You're there. You're close.
Yeah.
You don't hand the ball over or risk handing the ball over to Dallas, who realistically was having their way with Washington's defense. They just couldn't quite convert, but you knew that Dallas was just aching. And when they gave that ball to Dallas like that, I knew right then and there Dallas was going to score. And sure enough, I don't know, it was 2-3 plays later, Dallas just right in the end zone game, and then I knew right then and there.
And I like Rivera too.
I personally like the guy. I think he's a good guy. It's just, he's only had one. Stephen A. Smith talked about this on his show, and I kind of watched a clip. He said, Ron Rivera's only had one winning season in 8 years. If you look at his record, he had one winning season in 8 years. So he hasn't been
right.
I have come in and I've got this great winning record. I mean, he had one great season with Cam Newton when they went 15-1, got into the Super Bowl and lost to Denver. That was his really claim to fame season. You take that season out, I mean, he's kind of like an average coach at best.
Right.
It's just the way the reality is here.
Mm-hmm.
But they're going to move on. The only question is, I think, going to happen with Washington is, do they keep Bieniemy and make him the guy? Or does Eric Bieniemy, and that's what Stephen A. thought Eric Bieniemy was going to get pushed out too, and they were going to start all over, and then Bieniemy would be out of a job.
Mm-hmm.
Or the owner interviews Bieniemy, likes him, and says, "I want to start with you, Eric. You're going to be my guy. You're going to hire your team. You go out and you hire your coordinators." Oh,
well, let me ask this: Bieniemy, when he got that job, was the new ownership in place yet?
Not yet.
So he was hired before they came in place.
Yeah.
Well, it's possible he could, because that wasn't their guy.
No, and that's the problem.
And it's only up to if they want to give him an interview. If they don't, they might want to come with their whole new what they want to do.
Oh, for the record, you also were correct. The other person to get fired in the defensive side of the ball for the Washington Commanders was a Brett Wieselmeyer. He was the defensive backs coach. Brett Wieselmeyer and Jack Del Rio were fired after the game. Dallas beat Washington 45-10. Again, it was 20-10. It was a relatively close game, and then all of a sudden, the dam kind of broke loose. Washington went crazy. Again, the gift that Dallas went crazy. Washington gives them the gift, and then we're off to the races.
Well, I'm telling you, this is the first time. Well, I won't say. I'm gonna say normally Thanksgiving. I'm watching every pro game.
Right.
These wasn't except the Packers game.
I missed that. So
that was decent trying to go back and forth, but the Packers played great. Jordan Love, they showing his progression.
Yes.
His last 3 games, he has been playing lights
good.
out.
Everybody,
they just got to do. They got their pass blocking is great. They got to get better at run blocking. They not that big. That offensive line, they showed them they're not real big guys. They are quick. And when guys try to get, he was just sitting in the pocket, just waiting until his guy's open, putting it right on the money. I mean, he was eating that secondary up. So they got a future. And these young guys, these receivers, I mean, you got guys it was a guy there that only had 1 catch for the entire season. They played him. He's catching everything. He was catching everything. I can't remember his name. His number is 18. I said, these guys are onto something. But that's how the Packers have been. Think about the history of what they've done with the quarterbacks. And this is just something. I mean, he really done shown he's turned the corner.
The numbers on Jordan Love for the Thursday game, which they did go into Detroit and pull an upset.
Yeah, that's good you said that so people know. This wasn't at Lambeau.
No, it was in the Dome. Jordan Love was 22 for 32. So he did, and then he had 3 touchdowns, 268 yards passing of the upset of the Lions.
And I didn't put his rushing on it, but him getting out of the pocket
I have
something too.
Yeah, that's just the thing. If you're a Packer fan, you knew this year would be a kind of a year in training for Jordan Love. And there are a lot of people thought he started out rough, but you've seen him develop in front of your eyes. Now it looks like moving forward that Jordan Love is going to be a pretty good successor for Rodgers. And you got obviously a much younger player.
Yeah.
But now it looks like, boy, you made a good move by drafting him and then developing him.
Yeah. And then the thing about it, I liked his interview when he said, people think Aaron Rodgers was a guy that didn't do anything. He said, do you know that Aaron Rodgers calls me once every week before the games that he plays and then during the week to go over different things. He's at the Jets.
And he's
still mentoring
but
this
he's
guy.
still mentoring.
He said,
Jordan
and
Love.
you see the stuff that he's doing. You should see the throws he's making. If you was able to get to this, watch the highlights, look at the throws and just look at what he's doing and tell me if it doesn't remind you of Rodgers. Different angles with the way he's throwing it, putting the ball in certain spots. He said he's taught him so much. And he said all he needs to do is he told him he needs to just relax, don't press. He said Rodgers told him just relax and don't press. And things are starting to fall in place. And yeah.
No, they definitely have. I mean, when you really break it down, and you see how you could see Jordan Love really develop in front of our eyes as the season is progressing. He's getting much better.
Right.
The more he's playing, the confidence he's getting, learning the defense, the reads, the check downs. You could see that he's really developing into a pretty good quarterback. Usually teams don't do this. They don't bring quarterbacks in and sit them. They throw them to the proverbial wolves, sort of to speak.
Yeah.
And, some quarterbacks struggle, and then others, for some reason, like Stroud from Houston, with a whole new team and brand new coach, DeMeco Ryans. By the way, he's a defensive guy.
Mm-hmm.
But yet, and in all these, talk show guys are saying, well, you got to bring an offensive guy because you got a young quarterback. You need an offensive-minded coach to mentor the young quarterback.
But why don't they give any credit
to the offensive coordinator?
Yeah, well, they were saying, one of the announcers was saying, why don't they give credit to DeMeco Ryan hiring his assistants and knowing who to hire as his quarterback? He hired them, the quarterback coach and his offensive coordinator.
Right.
So he had idea. These guys know what they're doing with developing quarterbacks.
Right.
I trust them. Get in there and do it. And that's what they've been doing.
And that's what they've done.
Yeah, but he's already, some of the traits, I love it on the NFL Network when they show stuff. Some of the traits CJ Stroud already had, they needed to be developed and become a consistent thing, because playing in Ohio State's offense didn't allow him to be consistent in some of the things he needed at the pro level, but he already had the ability. He showed it at Ohio State in certain circumstances that he could do that, but he didn't do it all the time because he didn't have to. It's college. They didn't teach it that way. So it was easy for him to catch on to the pro way, and he's developed. It's like Dan Marino when he came. It looked like he just took him out of Pitt's Panthers offense, put him in Miami's, and he got even better. It's just ridiculous. You know, some guys are just like that. That's just what they are. So it's the same thing they talked about. They said this is the best as far as Houston, knowing how to, if they ever say that these guys don't know how to draft quarterbacks, they said, don't care what happened with Watson. Look at what he did when he came in as a rookie.
Yeah.
And great all the way through. The situation happened. They couldn't find another quarterback that really could fit that. And then they get CJ Stroud. And they were able to get another quarterback, they said, that fit similar traits that Watson had, and put him in, and look what happened.
Well, for the record, the offensive coordinator for the Houston Texans is Bobby Slowick. And obviously, Matt Burke is the defensive coordinator. DeMeco Ryan's the head man.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm kind of looking at this, I'm just kind of amazed.
I remember that Slowick. Who was he with? College and in pro. I remember that name, that coach.
He spent 6 seasons in the San Francisco 49ers. He came over with DeMeco Ryans because
somebody knows.
Someone he knew.
Yep.
He spent 6 seasons with San Francisco, mostly serving as the offensive passing game coordinator.
Okay.
He got to start with San Francisco during the same season as as head coach DeMeco Ryans, with both coaches serving as defensive quality coaches. So he kind of has both sides of the ball. But
and then they got a relationship. They came in together.
Yeah, because they
both
came
was
in
quality
together.
guys, so they had to work together.
And they've worked together.
So he knows, this guy is the guy.
And so he brings in the offensive coordinator he's very comfortable with. And you've got to really give. And then he also brought in Jarrett James as an offensive assistant. And he actually arrived in Houston 7 years ago. He arrived in Houston with 7 years of coaching experience, most recently serving. He was an offensive line coach at Michigan State in 2021. All I know is you've got to really give, and I don't really see everybody's obviously giving Stroud a lot of kudos, which he's deserved. He might be MVP when this shakes out. But for some reason, I don't really see a lot of people really saying, boy, this DeMeco Ryans has done he's really a great head coach. It's like everybody's praising Stroud, and I get it. And I do. That's good.
Right.
But I think people should be giving DeMeco Ryans a lot of credit here for a first-time head coach, bringing in your guys, putting a team together, working with Casario, who's the GM. And you got to give him a lot of credit, but he picked the right guy in DeMeco Ryans to come in and really then develop a brand new team that nobody knew anything about.
Right. And you got them guys playing. I mean, he's got a lot of the same guys. He's mixed in his guys, some of his guys he brought on off. I mean, from San Fran and everything like that. But he's got mostly the same guys. And look how they play. Now Not that they didn't play hard last year, because they did play some games. They were in a lot of games last year.
Right.
They did. You could see they was on it, but it's like you got to get somebody to take them over. You get to a certain plateau and, we can't get past it. He was able to take them up and over. And now those guys are rolling. That's not a team that you can mark a W.
No,
next
that's
to.
not.
You better not mark a W.
It'll be interesting is because that division, who really never got a lot of respect, they were the Rodney Dangerfield of divisions.
Mm-hmm.
Now you've got Jacksonville and Houston. Potentially, both these teams could get in playoffs. This will be interesting, obviously, as
they play this weekend.
They play this weekend. It's going to be a big game.
Mm-hmm.
But again, nobody saw Houston being this good. Nobody even thought Stroud would be half as good as what he is now.
Right.
And then going over to the other unfortunate side of the coin, you have the Carolina Panthers, who pretty much look like, if I were to say coaches losing, I have a bad feeling Frank Reich is going to be gone at the end of the year. He's got one and done written all over it because the owner, that owner has got like.
Yeah. Well, I think they did wrong in starting Bryce Young.
Right. We kept saying they should, again, you should have kept Wilkes.
Yeah.
There's where I personally
Bryce Young might have been okay with him.
Right.
I'm serious.
I think the problem you have with these coaches, they're always looking, the grass is always greener. Mark Davis did it with Bisaccia, letting him go, bringing in Josh McDaniel, only to basically have that blow up in his face. You should have kept Bisaccia because the guys loved playing for him.
Mm-hmm.
Wilkes was doing really. I thought he had turned that Carolina team around. He is just as an interim coach, and I would have personally thought he should have kept him.
Yeah,
but he didn't. He brings in Frank Reich, and I think it's a rule. I don't think the roster's that good, but Tepper, the owner, doesn't want to hear that. He wants to see W's, and I don't think they have the roster. But Wilkes had that team playing hard for him. I would have just kept Wilkes in, and I would have given him the 3 or 4 year deal, head coach, and see what he could do, because he seemed to have a handle on what was going on.
The reason somebody, if listeners to this, might have said, what does he mean if Bryce Young would have been better? The reason I think that when Steve Wilkes was a coach, he concentrated on running the football, playing tough defense, and then his quarterbacks would make the throws when they need to. Frank Reich got what's called throwing 30, 40 times a game. You don't do that with a young guy.
Not with a young quarterback.
And you let him develop. Just like we seeing what's happening with other quarterbacks. At first, CJ Stroud, he's throwing the ball. They was running a lot.
They were
Pierce,
running a lot more.
And then he just to keep developing, and then they took off. Now they're a mixed bag. You don't know if they're running pass, you don't know anything.
And they got a great defense.
Yep.
D'Amico Ryans has brought his defense expertise. Matt Burke is the D coordinator. He's been in the league 20 years. D'Amico Ryans has got and I've never heard this. I mean, again, nobody has heard of this team. I mean, they did a scorch the earth, bringing in D'Amico Ryans and let him build the team up. And he's done such a great job between coaches, and then nobody talks about it. But he's developed this team that no one's heard of. Good defense, got a young quarterback, rookie quarterback, playing great. But you're right. I think he's taken a lot of pressure off Stroud. You don't have to throw the ball 40 times. We're going to play great defense. We're going to get a good running game going. And then Stroud is just going to go ahead and develop. And you've seen this in front of our eyes. And Stroud has really developed into a pretty good quarterback, maybe the MVP of the year.
Yeah, it's a disservice to Bryce Young, because you could see when I watched some of the games, he could throw the ball accurately, but it's hard to do it when you're running for your life constantly. Constantly, he's running for his life.
They don't have a line. They don't run the ball. They have struggled. You're putting a young quarterback in. It's like Daniel Jones with the Giants. He's just and that's bad, because poor Bryce is just going to, I hope he doesn't fall into that category. And we've seen it where these quarterbacks get hit so many times. They start developing the bad habit of they don't have confidence in that pocket. So their first inclination is to get out of the pocket because, again, they've been kind of battled and hit and banged around. They don't want to stay in that pocket. And for a rookie quarterback, they've got to have confidence in the pocket. And when they don't have that confidence, they get into bad habits.
Yeah.
And I just hope it works out for Bryce coming down.
Build that offensive line.
That line's got to get better. Saturday morning, that's the first half hour. That flew by. We'll be back after a quick timeout on Western Reserve Radio. Pat Lucia, Dave Clark.
Located in Applewood Estates in Boardman Township, the Applewood Swim and Tennis Club offers a pleasant family environment. Choose a membership that meets your needs and enjoy a relaxing venue that includes not only swimming for the family, but also youth activities such as competitive swimming, tennis, and more. Enjoy the friendly atmosphere all summer long with the staff and members of the Applewood Swim and Tennis Club. For more information, go to applewoodswimandtennis.com or call 330-953-2833.
Hey, football fans, don't miss the hard-hitting action of Youngstown Phantoms hockey at the Cavelli Center in downtown Youngstown. The Phantoms are preparing for the upcoming season as they take to the ice to defend their Clark Cup championship. With over a dozen highly touted prospects on this year's roster, the road to the NHL clearly runs through Youngstown. Purchase season tickets, group tickets, and individual game tickets now by calling 330-747-PUCK. That's 330-747-7825 or go to youngstownphantoms.com. Clark Cup champion! Catch all of the spring and summer action of Cleveland Cobras minor league football on Western Reserve Radio. Follow the Cobras as they compete against teams from around the region in pursuit of a Tri-Point Football League championship. And if you're looking to continue your football career after high school, college, or even the pros, or to be part of the Cobras staff, go to Facebook at Cleveland Cobras Football. Or contact owner Jesse Caldwell at 330-416-3442. Be a part of the excitement of Cleveland Cobras football.
Meet Josh.
Hi, everybody.
Josh is a high school basketball player, solid shooter, great teammate.
Hey, don't forget my tenacious D.
And he's my son.
Oh.
So, what does Josh do to be the best basketball player he can be?
I play tennis.
Studies show that student athletes here in Ohio who play more than one high school sport are more likely to excel. Tennis does more than improve Josh's condition. It gives him a fresh competitive outlet, reduces the risk of injury by cross-training, and introduces him to different coaching techniques and new friends.
Don't get me wrong, hoops are my first love. Tennis just gives me a little break.
So when the new season begins, Josh isn't burned out on basketball. He's eager to play, and you can see the difference in his game.
This message presented by the Ohio High School Athletic Association and the Ohio Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Saturday morning sports page, Pat Lucia, Dave Clark, 330-707-4202. As we obviously talked first half hour, talking a lot about Houston Texans, a surprise team this year in the NFL. We figured that Riverboat Ron, for the record, is still employed. Ron Rivera has not been fired. Yet.
No, I'm sorry. I shouldn't say that.
Yet.
I don't like guys getting fired.
Yet. I think when Black Monday rolls around, I think Riverboat's wrong. I think we'll have to do this. Look at each team and let's predict whether or not we do it anyway. Even though probably it's not a good thing, but again, everybody does it. It is not that makes it right. We predict who's going to get fired at the end of the year. I got Riverboat Ron is got to be the first to go. I got a bad feeling Frank Reich is going to be a one and done because I just think that the owner's not, because I have a bad feeling that Carolina is going to end up with 2 or 3 wins if they're lucky. And I think that Tepper's just going to, if he rolls 3-14, I don't think Tepper's keeping Frank Reich. I could be wrong. Maybe he's going to give him a chance to develop.
But I tell you, You talk about a team that looked dismal.
That's a bad team. I mean, that is one terrible football team.
Yeah, well, something's wrong because a lot of the guys are some of the same guys that was there last year.
Right.
And if people remember down the stretch, they were getting close to getting in the playoffs. They would have had they had an opportunity to get in there. So I mean, they had elite guys. Like when you go to the defensive line, you got Brian Burns and Derek Brown. That's one of the best combo defensive tackle defense in the league. People don't even know about him enough. Brian Burns is a great pass rusher, and Derek Brown is from the Auburn. If people remember, is All-American Auburn, and has been a All-Pro at defensive tackle for Carolina. And then you got Shaq Thompson and these guys at linebacker. I mean, I just don't understand it.
Why is this team so bad?
That's
I
the-
think
that's
that's
the
what,
problem.
again,
That's the problem.
not to beat this dead horse, but
Steve
Wilkes had
stayed
the
there.
team in good shape, and you went for the hire. You gave him you did a great job, Wilkes, but we're moving on. We saw it with the Raiders. We're seeing it with Carolina.
And that's what they did. They thought that they were close, right, to the playoffs.
They did.
Get Frank Wright. Yeah, they was battling for a playoff spot.
They
at
were
the end of the
fighting
season.
for a playoff spot. People forget. Carolina Panthers were fighting for a playoff spot.
That's right. And they figured, okay, let's get the guy that can take us over the hump.
Yep, get us over that hump.
And see, that's what people don't realize. They say, oh, it's a bad roster. And we all said, but it's not. I'm not even going to blame it on that.
Nope.
That team competed with that roster. And then you got Bryce Young, you got a couple other guys there on defense in your draft. Why aren't you at least similar, close to what
At
you
least
were last
competing.
year? Just competing.
You're not even
No, they get
competing.
smashed. That is a problem. I know it would be for me because that's what happened. You think you get a guy, just like you got Versace, took you all the way and really
Got you in the
for
playoffs.
an inverting whistle or whatever it was.
Whistle against the Cincinnati Bengals cost them the game. They should have beat the Bengals in Cincinnati. Raiders did.
Yeah.
And that's how Bisaccia went out. But he almost won that game.
He almost won that.
And yet you
You
bring
go
in Josh
so
McDaniel
well he
and
did that.
it goes south very quickly.
Yeah, I seen how those guys were floundering because of all the controversy with John Gruden, all the things that was going on.
Right.
It was floundering. Yeah, Gruden got them to play some, but they were still floundering. Too much controversy.
Right. Too much.
They got that out the door. Versace took over and and then you get rid of him, bring in a new guy that's going to bring his system. And what happened? Guys did not like it.
The old Bisaccia's like 62.
Yeah.
An older guy.
Right.
Like us.
Right.
However, the players really identified with him.
They loved him.
And he was a special teams guy. And it was like the players loved the guy.
Yep.
So whatever he was doing with the players, communicating with them, they loved playing for him and they played hard. And you could see that.
Age discrimination.
Age discrimination.
Yeah, because it is.
Right. So
It is.
you got rid of the guy, and then the team goes, basically in the toilet, sort of to speak, under McDaniel.
62 is too
And
old.
McDaniel had a bad record with Denver. Same problem, alienating the players. You bring him over to the Raiders, he alienates the players. Gee, can't see that coming.
And I know people wouldn't want us to say age script, but I am going to say it because if I'm going to learn something, I'm going to look all around the league and learn something. And I remember a guy named Marv Levy, who coached. Oh man, goodness, how long he coached and very successful.
Right. And he was an old guy, and the Buffalo, all those players loved playing for Marv.
And they played hard, and
And
that's
they
why they
did.
made the Super Bowl year after year. Four
Super
I don't care if they
Bowls.
lost them. That is a chore to get back
there.
to get there 4 years in a row. Just getting there 4 times over a span of 15 years is rough. He did it 4 years straight.
4 years straight. But again, I don't know if the owners obviously are not satisfied with the direction the team is. So
they like splash.
They always like splash, and they always think I can do better.
Yeah.
I can find, I could build it better. I'm going to get a better guy than I have, even though, in both cases with Wilkes and Bisaccia, great job that they did with the team. Players loved playing for him. and that they turn around and they get other, and then Frank Reich, I have a feeling he's a one and done. That'll be an open. We've already figured Riverboat Ron's out. That's 2 openings. What's his name? Evil Flus, if I'm saying it right. Chicago. I think he's pretty much going to be done.
He could be. He could be, because I'm going to tell you, they keep going the way they're going. If they get the first pick, hi, Caleb. That it might be if they get the first pick, that might happen.
Okay. What you've just done on this show, Dave Clark, is you've just opened up the door, and we are going to change gears, but you just said the magic word, Caleb Williams. So now this show is based on doors that open from the side you're on, which is the old Cat Stevens song, Sitting. That's one of the lyrics in the song. Anyway, we've just done that because Dave Clark's just opened up the Caleb Williams door, and we're going to transition real close to talking about the potential fired coaches, and we still have a lot to do with that. We just rattled off 2 we think will be unemployed at the end of the year. But Dave just opened up the door to the Caleb Williams situation. Question's going to be, do you think Caleb comes back to USC? I don't think he's coming back, but you never know. His father made kind of he might not. Arizona Cardinals have their quarterback, and they will probably win a few more games with Murray. And they just signed Murray to a big contract. So I think
it's going to be hard to get rid of that contract.
You're not going to get rid of the contract.
And he's playing.
And he's playing good. He's playing really good.
He was hurt. He had a knee injury?
He had that ACL. I don't know that.
Because he's short enough running football.
Yeah, he could play. I mean, Murray is really, he came back this year.
Rededicated, I think, or something.
Yeah, I don't know what he did. I mean, he rehabbed that knee, and he's lightning. And Arizona's going to win a couple more games. I'll look at their schedule. But Arizona's going to be out of the pick anyway for the top pick.
Yeah.
The question is going to be, since Chicago has the Carolina pick here, Chicago's probably going to end up with the number 1 pick overall.
Right.
The question's going to be, do they trade Justin Fields and go with Caleb Williams? Because they're going to have I believe Chicago Bears will have the number 1 pick overall. Thank you, Carolina Panthers. And the question's going to be, what decision do they make? Caleb Williams, the situation with USC. USC has really fallen off this year. They played horribly against UCLA and just got drilled against. No line play at all from USC. Lincoln Riley, I don't understand. He's the genius. The team has really fallen off even from last year. They were 1 game. USC was 1 game from getting into the Final Four last year. Now they have 5 losses, and they just they have no defense, no offensive line.
He didn't upgrade either one.
No, in fact, they've taken really a significant step backward.
Yep.
And this team is realistically not a very good football team who have maybe the best player right now. He's not going to get a Heisman. He already won that. But Caleb Williams, to me, is still the best player in college.
Yeah.
The question's going to be, does he come back or does he go to the NFL? And then USC next year, you won't have Caleb Williams anymore if he leaves. What kind of team is that going to be next year?
I know. I mean,
they're going to be in the Big Ten next year.
Yeah, I don't understand why you didn't get the offensive line and defensive line together. Now, do they got individual defensive line guys? Yeah, it's a couple guys individually that they might be, like the inside guy might be a first-round draft, but he's surrounded by nobody. So he gets double team, triple team sometime. Once he's out the picture, I forgot his name. He came from Alabama. He's a transfer from Alabama to USC. What is it? Smoke something? I forgot what his name is, but the guy is a stalwart on defense. He's rated with all the NFL teams as a first rounder. He'd probably be a first round guy. Now they got the defensive end that is pretty good too, but he's a younger guy, still developing. He's getting better and better. That's it.
But that's it. But
what you going to do with the rest of that?
That's what I mean. The defensive is sieve.
Now, if he would have added more top guys with them to solidify that defensive line, then you might have
something.
But you can't stop nobody if you don't have a good front seven.
They don't have. No,
they don't.
They don't. They have no front, really. Every game I've watched USC played this
this
year.
guy I watched the guy. I've just watched a couple of their games and watched him get doubled, and triple teamed. I think I want to say his number is 90. And I know he's a transfer from Alabama. And he was a 5-star, 4 or 5-star when he was in high school, and Alabama had him. So they had so many guys at that defensive line. He went on a transfer to USC. And they was trying to Saban was trying to keep him from going, but he left and he went there. And it's hard to get. They still, NFL knows what they're doing. They look at guys.
They know, right?
So they know individually. We know he got the talent, but he's not getting the recognition. Why? He's doubled and triple teamed, and teams just run straight up through there and have a great day because they don't have anything other than that guy. And you'll get his name in a minute on that roster. But I'm pretty sure it might be number 90. I want to say 72, but I don't think it's 7. It's 90. I'm almost certain.
Okay, yeah, they've got when you really look at the defensive line, as I kind of motor through this, they've got Bear Alexander. Bear Alexander.
Why could I remember Bear Bryant? That's what they.
There you go. 6'3", 300 pounds. He's only a sophomore out of Terrell, Texas. That's where he is played high school at. And Bear Alexander is, their top D lineman, as you've said. And he has to stay there another year before he can go to the NFL. I believe I've got to look to see if he's a red shirt soft. Is he a red shirt guy, or can he come out now?
I think he should stay just because.
They just said they've got him as a sophomore. So it says just sophomore. So I'm assuming he will be back for another year for them. And the question's going to be then he'll be leaving, but you need to build around him.
Why wouldn't you build around that?
And evidently Lincoln Riley has failed to do that. The team is 7-5. They've played terrible. They have the defense has been really, but their offensive line isn't very good because I've seen Caleb Williams get light up and he's always running for his life.
Yeah, no.
And making plays, but I mean, he can't do it all.
Right. And then I looked at their skill position. You got all these good receivers,
right?
But you can't get the ball to them.
No, when your quarterback's running for his life.
And I mean, he gets, and it's unbelievable that he has the stats that he does.
That's with that offensive line.
I mean, I think he's only got 5 interceptions, maybe. I think. I don't know. I don't even know if he got that many. He might have 4. I don't know. But I mean, that's what he's got. Somewhere around there. It's single digits. And if people will watch USC and with the comment that you just made, how much he runs for his life, he should have double digits interceptions.
Oh, he
should have a bunch of interceptions all over the place. This guy doesn't throw them.
No, in fairness to him, he had the bad game against Notre Dame. He threw the 3 picks.
Yep.
But realistically, when you've looked at this year, he's actually. I'm going to.
Some of these picks he has.
Yeah,
he got 3 just in one game. If he only has 5 for the season, that's insane. If he threw 3 in one, he threw 3 in that game, right?
Yeah.
You said
he had 3 against Notre Dame. You're correct. He has basically 100%. Dave Clark. He's got 5 interceptions, 30 touchdowns.
Come on, man.
30 TDs. He threw an interception against UCLA, 3 against Notre Dame, and 1 against Colorado. That's it. So he's had
how many attempts?
He basically has had 388 attempts. He's completed 266, 388, 3,633 yards. He has a obvious 68% completion, 30 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He's been sacked 33 times.
That's insane.
That's insane.
And we could add at least another 20 if he didn't get out of him with his
and that's I'm trying to figure out how many rushes and hurries and knockdowns and I mean that's just the sacks. Again, I don't see Caleb Williams coming back to USC.
I mean, that's just
I just don't see
duress all the time.
Right. Why would he? I know he's at the NIL deal. He's making piles of money. I get that. But if you're Caleb Williams, I think you got to figure, I got to move on. I got to get to the NFL. You know he's going to be the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
I know they talk about the kid from Carolina, Drake May,
Yeah.
North Carolina, is in there too. It's Caleb or Drake May. I think, I haven't seen a lot of Drake May, so I really can't tell.
Yeah, he's
I've
pretty
seen a
good.
lot of Caleb Williams, and I'm like a Giant fan, and I'm just
Yeah,
hoping.
I know you said you wish there's some kind of way they could get in there. And it's not that they couldn't. I was reading. It's possible.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they beat the Commanders last week. That caught us off guard. Well, I talked you out of that. I owe you one.
Yeah.
Because you wanted to go with the Giants. I talked you out of that. And I said Commanders. And the Giants turned around and beat them 31-19. So I owe Dave Clark one. Because I talked you out of that pick. But the bottom line is, I'm afraid that's a bad win for the Giants, because that's going to move them down the draft selection, and they're not going to be able to get a Caleb Williams or a Drake May. And that's what I think they need to do that. And I was hoping that the Giants would lose out, and they and Bears would be fighting for Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look that's going to be the case now with the Giants winning.
And you're talking about ideal. The reason I say ideal is say, well, can Caleb Williams deal with the New York media? Well, he's in Los Angeles right now in college. You got more media in both ends. I know he can go right there and we'll be fine. And then if he's off the charts like he's doing, oh my God.
I don't think if you're a Giant fan, you would only wish you could get a Caleb Williams. And I don't think they're going to, because that win. And now they're going to play New England this weekend. New England's basically, that's the other coach I think is going to be out. I think Belichick's out.
Yeah.
I really think think right now that Kraft is working a way to cut. I mean, he wants Belichick and him to come to some kind of an agreement.
Yeah.
And they could part ways.
He would just fire him. Some kind of
no, he doesn't want to have to fire him. But the reality is he wants to move on from Belichick, because you could see that team is dismal. Mm-hmm. That's a bad football team. And Mac Jones he reminds me of the golfer that has the yips. You can't, you get psyched out, like you can't make a putt.
Yeah.
And you just, no matter what it is, you can't make a 2-foot putt. And Mac Jones is like, it's like his mind, it's like he can't throw a ball thinking, if I throw this ball, it's going to get intercepted. I just think he's got that in his head. So he needs like almost a year of mental rehab, of no confidence. He needs to get his confidence back, and he just doesn't have any. Yeah. And I think Mac Jones needs to move on to another team and another situation.
Yeah,
and
I think I've seen a mock draft. They got Drake May going to
New England.
Yeah.
And that looks like a potential spot, because the way New England's been playing. However, the Giants in New England play this week.
Yeah.
And that's a big game, because if New England beats the Giants, they're gonna fall out of that Drake May sweepstakes, because I think Caleb and Drake May are going to go 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe Marvin Harrison goes 3, depending on needs and how the ultimate draft.
Well, if like they showed it now, they got Marvin Harrison going 2.
Right.
And that's because it's Arizona. And they said the way Kyler is playing,
oh my gosh,
you keep him, and then you bring in a receiver.
You bring in Marvin Harrison.
With some
Jr.
of the young guys, they got playing receiver good too, like Wilson and a couple other guys. They still got Marquise Hollywood Brown, who could play in a slot with that speed.
And then you bring Harrison
in the tight end. If Zach Ertz come back and be healthy,
he gets back from the injury.
That Trey McBride, who took over for him, they just found a diamond in the rough. This guy's a miniature Travis Kelce. You haven't seen him yet. You got to watch here. So that's who he reminds me of.
Could you imagine that?
So now you could use both tight ends. He's going to be a star. He has to be the starter.
You can't leave. Yeah, you got to let him play.
Good. Yeah, he's got to play.
Could you see that if Arizona could end up with Marvin Harrison,
and you got receivers already?
You got all those receivers, and I think you've got Kyler Murray. There are some. I have to look his numbers up. You just signed with the big fat deal. He's got to have a dead cap hit. Yeah. You can't get rid of Kyler Murray. I love how some of the talk guys go, they're going to move on from Kyler Murray, and draft Caleb Williams. I don't think you can.
Well, you're going to put
because your dead cap hit is too bad.
You're going to hurt the franchise for years to come.
Yeah, you can't do that. Yeah, talk show talk radio guys can bring that up, and that's fine, and that's great, debate, argument. But at the end of the day, you're a GM. You cannot take that cap hit. Like Deshaun Watson. I talked to a friend of mine, he wants to get rid of Deshaun Watson. I read off Deshaun Watson dead cap number. He's there.
Right.
You cannot get rid of Deshaun Watson.
Yeah,
I believe the cap hit was well over $100 million.
I still say anybody who do that, you just stay with the guy.
You have to.
You started to see him coming around. Stay with him. He's out for the season. Great. I actually say that. Great. And let him start next year and see what happens. Continue to build that football team. You just got to build off what you have. You can't go and worry about, let's get rid of him and go to, because all you're going to do is start that. I'm saying that for Cleveland fans. Quit starting over with quarterbacks and quit starting over with coaches. Yeah, you started at one time, wanting to get rid of Stefanski. And why?
Oh, I know.
Stay with Stefanski. He's a good coach. And then Watson will come back to be where he needs to be, because he was getting ripped. And then all of a sudden, look at this guy. This guy is a player in the Baltimore game. Do you think he had anything to do with Cleveland beating Baltimore in that game, that comeback? That cracks me up when they didn't want to at first, but then they started giving him a lot of, because the plays he was making for a guy that got a broken shoulder, a high ankle sprain, and he's scrambling and making throws, making runs, let me know that he has a desire to play and be back to the Watson we know. You hold on to him, and you have to.
Here's how it would work. Dead cap for Kyler Murray this year is $96 million. Next year it's $81 million. And then the following year it drops to $33 million. His next 2 years, this year, next year,
he's not going anywhere.
He ain't going anywhere.
No, unless you're going to trade him to Cleveland for Deshaun Watson.
But then, that's
the only way you're going to.
But then both teams would be absolutely in cap hell.
Yeah,
because Deshaun Watson's cap numbers are actually worse. Because I had a friend of mine again, and this friend is a hardcore Cleveland Brown fan. He always wants to fire Stefanski, and every time Cleveland wins, I call him and go, "You can't fire your coach. They won again," and he gets mad. Because he still wants to fire Stefanski.
He gets mad at you.
Yeah, he gets mad when they win, because that means they have to keep Stefanski.
Why would you fire him?
Because he doesn't like Stefanski, goes in and on his stuff about Stefanski, this and that. I said, you Cleveland, you fans in Cleveland, that's your problem.
That's why.
All you ever want to do is fire.
Why
don't you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers? Now, they fired Matt Canada finally, which I think they had to do.
They had to, but look how long Tomlin gave him.
Oh my God, Tomlin gave that guy. All last year they talked about firing Matt Canada.
Not do it. He said,
and
he's
he
a
wouldn't
loyal
do
guy.
it. Right.
But he said, this is too much. This team, you got TJ Watt, you got all these guys, Highsmith. That's your offense. Them guys on defense. I'm be honest with you. The next guy that I think is out in Pittsburgh, that they might have to just take a red flag to, Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett stinks right now. Unless he gets to somewhere and gets better. I don't know if his head is out of it or what's going on.
Well,
I didn't think he'd be that type of player. I thought he would be a nice fit, but if he doesn't improve, you got to move on next year.
I think
you have to.
Tomlin, I think this is Tomlin's take, is he figures if he brought in the new coordinator, maybe the coordinator can fix Kenny Pickett. And maybe he figures that Kenny Pickett's problem is related to Matt Canada. So that's, we had this conversation about Buffalo firing their offensive coordinator, but look at but Buffalo looked great against the Jets on Sunday, and they blew them out of the water and looked like a brand new offense. And you were right. I was like down. Why did you get? Well, you were right last week when you told me sometimes, you have to do that. And maybe you are right. Well, Pittsburgh is looking at, they're taking the same page for what Buffalo did by firing Ken Dorsey, their offensive coordinator. And maybe that's what it was. Maybe Pittsburgh said, hey, look what Buffalo did. They fired their offensive coordinator. The following week, it looked like a whole different team. Well, now they figure maybe we have to get rid of Canada, bring in a new coordinator, and maybe they could save Kenny Pickett's career. Because
Yeah.
you're right. Right now, Kenny Pickett looks like a bust.
Yeah, and I would have never said that coming out of Pitt because I thought he was a efficient enough quarterback
Yes.
to play on a team like Pittsburgh.
Right. He would fit in.
I'm not looking for him to be like the savior type guy to bring it, but to play on a team like Pittsburgh, perfect.
Here you go. Deshaun Watson's dead cap hit would be $220 million this year, $200 million next year, and $136 million in 2025. Yeah, you don't have any choice, Cleveland. Deshaun Watson's your guy. Yeah. Saturday morning sports page, it's halftime. We'll come back and go back in time 50 years
You're
ago.
listening to Western Reserve Radio, WRDB, The Scourge, a part of the Sports Map Radio Network.
Lena's Pierogi House is your home for the area's best variety of pierogies. Daily specials include the Polish platter, the Hungarian platter, stuffed cabbage, and halushki. Having a last-minute get-together? Lena's has you covered with a wide variety of frozen take-home pierogies and dumplings. Go to Facebook at Lena's Pierogi House to see the weekly lineup of available flavors for dine-in or carry-out. Catch the best at Lena's Monday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Tuesday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. 20 North Main Street in Hubbard or call 234-254-8532. With over 30 years of experience, Madurix Butcher Block in Mineral Ridge is a quality-driven company focused on great personal service. Our fresh meats are of the finest cut. We make a variety of burgers, sausages, and a full line of deli meats. Using our own smokehouse, we prepare different types of jerky, snack sticks, kibasi, bacon, hot dogs, and bone-in hams. When your tummy needs some relief, call 652-BEEF. That's 330-652-2333.
Whether you are a professional football champion or a fantasy football champion, Martusio Chiropractic is the place to recover from all your sports injuries. Proudly serving Trumbull County, Martusio Chiropractic is located at 369 Niles Cortland Road in Warren. Martusio Chiropractic accepts most insurance plans, now accepting new patients and offering some same-day appointments. For more information or to make an appointment, call Martusio Chiropractic at 330-856-9595.
Shining Stars Dance and Baton in Niles, Ohio is home to state, regional, national, and international world champions. They offer a wide variety of classes for ages 2.5 and up for boys and girls. Celebrating over 31 years in business, the excellent staff of instructors will help take your baton twirling skills to the next level.
Saturday morning sports page, Pat Lucia, Dave Clark, 330-707-4202. What we're going to do is we're going to get into a little time capsule and go back 50 years, Dave Clark. Because 50 years ago, I don't know if it was to this day, I'd have to look it up, but 50 years ago, The Ohio State University went up to Michigan to play the Wolverines of Michigan. And their quarterback, Cornelius Green, had a broken hand, but Ohio State wasn't telling anybody that, but everybody knew that. So the poor guy could barely hold on to the ball. And it was Ohio State went up 10-0, and Michigan came back and tied the game at 10 in the fourth quarter, and it ended in a 10-10 tie.
Mm-hmm.
And what ultimately happened was Ohio State had gone to the Rose Bowl the prior year. So Michigan and Ohio State tied for the Big Ten championship. So then they used to vote. Then it went to the all the schools voted who was going to represent the team in the Rose Bowl. And to this day, all those Michigan fans, and Bo Schembechler, one of them, felt like they really got screwed, to be blunt, because the Big Ten, for some reason, voted for Ohio State to go to the Rose Bowl. And everybody thought Michigan was going to go, because back then the line of thought was that the team that went the previous year wouldn't go the 2 years in a row,
right?
Because they would always send a different team. And for some reason, they voted Ohio State to go for the second year. So then ultimately Ohio State went to the Rose Bowl and played in that 1974 Rose Bowl. So Michigan to this day talk about that. The fans, they talk about how, and even Schembechler, the poor guy went to his grave still talking about that. How the Big Ten screwed Michigan and let Ohio State go to the Rose Bowl that year, and Michigan sat home, because what people don't realize is back then, only one team from each conference could go to a bowl.
Right.
They changed it in 75 where they started to let multiple teams go to bowls. But back then, they didn't do that. And once a team went to the bowl, the rest of the conference sat home.
Yeah, it's terrible.
So Michigan basically had a great record that year. They were undefeated that year. And so was Ohio State. And Michigan went into the game 10-0. Ohio State went in 9-0. And ultimately, both teams Michigan ended up 10-0-1 that season, and they didn't go anywhere. They sat home and watched Ohio State go out to Pasadena. And that was one of the rare times that Ohio State actually went out the 74 Rose Bowl, and they actually crushed USC that year. They got beat. They were beat handily in 73 Rose Bowl by maybe one of the best teams in college football. The 1972 USC Trojans was considered one of the greatest teams in college football of all time. The following year, Ohio State played USC, and they basically beat USC fairly easy that year. In fact, let me get my numbers here. They beat USC 42-21 in the Rose Bowl in 1974, January 1st. So it was very interesting that if 50 years ago, it was Cornelius Green with a broken hand went up to play Ohio State with Archie Griffin, Pete Johnson, and the rest of that great 1973 football team. And in essence, they fought to a 10-10 tie. And ultimately, Ohio State's record ended up being 10-0-1 and Michigan 10-0-1. And Ohio State goes to the bowl, and basically Michigan sits home and got to watch Ohio State beat USC and avenge the loss from the prior year Rose Bowl. I believe it was, I ought to look it up. I believe it was like they lost 42-10. Sam the Bam Cunningham for USC scored, I think, 4 touchdowns where he kept diving over the top. And that was a very, not a good game for the Ohio State University, but they were playing, again, one of the best teams, maybe of all time, in the discussion, the 72 USC Trojans. And they had a great linebacker by the name of Richard Wood.
Batman Woods.
Yeah.
That was the name, remember?
That was the name, right.
Yeah, right.
That was
Batman
really
Woods.
Pat Hayden and Mike. I think Mike Ray was the quarterback. Pat Hayden was the wide receiver on that 72 USC Trojan team. I got to look that one, get into it. But
Hayden was the quarterback.
Maybe Hayden was the quarterback.
He was the
and
quarterback.
Mike and the other, Mike Ray was the wideout. Yeah. Pat Hayden was the quarterback. You've got it right. Yeah. And he was that goes back many 50 years ago. But that was a great team. The USC, I guess that's 51 years with USC. But the point on it is the 1973 Michigan-Ohio State game was a 10-10 tie. And I thought maybe Ohio State could hang on and win. But again, Michigan scored 10 points, I believe, in the fourth quarter to tie the game. And Ohio State couldn't throw the ball because, again, Cornelius Green had a broken hand. They just ran the ball. And there was like 2 teams, battering rams, banging up against one another.
Yeah.
Bo and Woody just banging.
That's probably what happened. Well, it won't be the cloud of dust type game, but it'll be a good one.
This game today will be very interesting because Ryan Day doesn't want to get into the John Cooper conversation.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't want to lose 3 in a row to Michigan. And he's going up to Michigan, and they're a 3.5-point underdog. I don't know. This will be a very interesting game. The Michigan quarterback is struggling. He's a little injured.
Last couple weeks.
Weeks, he hasn't looked good. I don't know if that's, what he's going to play like today. But Ohio State, my concern is that always has been the whole year is with their quarterback. And I don't know if, he's obviously, they got to get Marvin Harrison Jr. the ball today if they're going to have any chance. And Henderson, the running back, If he has a big game, that's going to open it up.
Yeah, he has to be big.
But he's got to have a big. He's played good though the last couple of weeks, but it's hard to gauge that when you're beating up on Minnesota and Michigan State.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and that's for both teams.
And that's both teams.
Yeah, so I don't know where guys get complacent. The quarterback hasn't played well. You get complacent. It's not the same thing. All the competitive juices will be flowing today. So we'll see just where everybody's at. It'll come out whether you stay in that rut. And if you happen to stay in that rut, you're going to be in trouble because this is for really the marbles. Now, a lot of people, as you explained when we first came on, that the loser probably won't go to the playoffs, and probably not. Now, the only ones I think that could happen if Alabama beats Georgia,
right,
on a field goal and beat them by 1-2 points, that some way, if one of that team's struggling, Georgia's still getting there. Because right now, when you watch Georgia, you almost like think they got the yips if they lose a game. Seriously, because they just look ridiculous. I mean, they on both sides. I mean, they just teams that you thought that was coming to play them, because we thought about all the other teams. I said, oh, they're going to have trouble. They just wiped right straight through them like it was nothing there. So, I mean, we'll see. Alabama's been playing great, so it's going to be great to see that game.
Problem you have potentially is Washington State and Florida State. Florida State I think, is playing with the third string quarterback.
Yeah.
They play Florida today. Then this is not a ACC game, so they'll play next week for the ACC title.
Right.
If Florida State loses a game, I think they're out.
Right.
Because then the committee's going to look for a better one-loss team, which might be Ohio State or Michigan or Alabama. If Alabama beats Georgia, you'll have two one-loss teams, Georgia, Alabama. If Georgia beats Bama has 2 losses. I think they don't get in again, even though you can make an argument they should. It's going to be last year all over again. Mm-hmm. So Bama would be out if they lose. But if Bama beats Georgia, then you're going to have 2 one-loss teams in the SEC. Mm-hmm. Same thing if Ohio State would beat Michigan or vice versa, then you're going to have a one-loss Big Ten team. Mm-hmm. Then the question is, but if Washington loses, Florida State loses, then it's going to get a little chaotic, which is what we love. But then all of a sudden now they're going to have to make a decision. Who is the best one-loss team to get in? Yeah. It did not win their conference. But if you have an Oregon that wins and beats Washington for the conference, does Oregon get in? Florida State has to win out to get in. I think if Florida State loses, they're out totally. So that's going to have to play out as the Pac-12 and the ACC are still in the play. If both teams go undefeated, Washington and Florida State go undefeated, then they're both getting in. Yeah, but then that's going to make it tight because there's no room for error, which basically means if Alabama beats Georgia, Georgia could be out. Because if Georgia loses to Bama, say in next week's in the conference championship game, Georgia loses, Florida State wins, Washington wins, Georgia's out.
Yeah, because they are automatic berths.
The SEC, Bama would go if Bama beats Georgia, they automatically go in.
Automatic is ACC. They're not automatic.
They're not automatic, but if they're undefeated, I don't know how do you put a one-loss Georgia team over a Florida State who's undefeated and a Washington undefeated.
Yeah. Especially Washington. I think they'll do it on Florida State just because
they've got the quarterback situation. Yep. But would you see if Florida State can win out, they're undefeated.
Yeah, no.
And how do you leave an undefeated team out? I don't know how do you do that.
Yep.
Out of a Power 5 conference.
Well, I think they don't care what they do now because this is it.
Well, this is it. This is the last year.
They might do some
They might do some things and make a lot of people upset.
Yeah, they don't care because next year.
And they don't care because it's 12 teams next year. And they might look to say, I'm going to put Georgia and Alabama in anyway, and we're going to leave an undefeated Florida State out. And I don't know how do you.
That's why we always needed the 12 teams or how many
Right.
because I would hate to see them out. I wish.
I hate to see Georgia out or an undefeated. I would.
Yeah, because Georgia's been. I mean,
right.
My God, the way they've been playing. And you can have one of those games. You can have it.
They can have a bad game, or they could lose to Alabama by 3 points.
That's what I'm saying. And be out.
And better yet, they could lose to Alabama, and Bama kicks the field goal because the referee threw the flag on a very questionable pass interference call. Gee whiz, that's never happened before. And all of a sudden, Alabama kicks the field goal and gets a win, and they won off a controversial penalty.
Yeah.
And then Georgia goes home because then they're looking, and they can look at the replay of the pass interference that wasn't there, but the referee threw the flag and decided the outcome of a game, which, again, that's never happened. I'll look at your Super Bowl last year. So, again, and that's the problem with referee. We didn't even get into the referee, and I don't know if I want to open up the door and just get into a long tirade about refereeing, but again, these referees can decide outcomes of games, and it's happened. But if something like that happens, could you imagine if Georgia loses to Bama because of a questionable pass interference call, and Bama brings the kicker in and he nails a 50-yarder, and Bama wins the game 22-21, and now Georgia, they're sitting out, and Florida State's undefeated, Washington's undefeated, and Michigan or Ohio State are undefeated. They're going to be in. Georgia is out?
Yes, that's.
Could you imagine?
Yeah, it'd be outrageous.
Yeah.
And I don't think you get the true national champion. I don't think we always, sometimes I think we got it, but
look,
it's just should have always been more teams in it.
I said this
given opportunity
last year. I know TCU was a good story, but TCU did not belong in the Final Four last year. They did beat Michigan, yeah. But look what that set up for a national title game.
Yep.
You were in bed by 10 o'clock. That game was over.
Right.
That game with Georgia and TCU was a mismatch from the go. And if Alabama went in against, and if it was Alabama, Georgia, if Alabama beat Michigan and Georgia beat Ohio State, you would have had a heck of a better game, Georgia playing Alabama in the final, than Georgia playing TCU.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, the ratings in that game were horrible because people pretty much switched off their TV sets after about a quarter, because you'd watched a quarter of that game and you knew right away that TCU didn't belong on the field with Georgia on any shape, way, or form.
Yeah. Just completely dominated.
And I know they didn't put a 2-loss Alabama, but they should have.
Yeah, they should have. I just
because they were the better team than TCU.
Yeah, they should have had the playoffs. Top 10 teams or whatever you want to do.
I don't care.
1 and 2 get the bye.
Whatever. Yeah. Now we won't have that.
Now there's 12. Though,
now there's 12. So
get it on.
Now the drawback is the conference title championships game won't really mean anything, and some of these big rival games won't really mean anything, because if Ohio State or if Michigan loses to Ohio State on a 12-team playoff, they're still going anyway.
Yeah, especially with the records that they have right
especially
now.
with these records they have today. Or if they get into the conference championship and lose, they're going anyway.
Now, the only thing that I look at is you want to win, still want to win because you get a more favorable draw.
Right.
That's that's the only thing. But you never know how favorable it is, because some of these teams that's ranked 8th, 9th that we done seen that never makes the playoff, we be like, they need to be in it. We don't know what they might have done if they were in the 14 playoff, but they were 7th, they were 6th,
and they
couldn't get in.
They never got in.
So you never know what could happen.
And that's
that's going to be fun.
And that's what's the fun part.
Yeah, I can't wait for that.
And we've been always on this show, done it many years, and always wanted to see more teams in there because we wanted it more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And the more, and granted, it does maybe devalue some of the games at the end of the season, but at the end of the day, the playoffs are going to be they're going to be more interesting to watch, and you might see a team come out of the woodwork and win a couple games and get hot. Yeah. Like what happens in baseball all the time is you get a certain team that gets in and they kind of catch fire.
Yeah. The one, I wish we had the playoffs back when was that UCF that beat Auburn.
Yes, the year that UCF
that year, they played so well.
Right.
I'm not saying they won the national championship. They could have been a team that would have
been interesting.
Upset somebody.
Now we get to see that next year.
Yeah.
So this year, though, we're going to have to sit and see what happens with Florida and Washington. Florida State and Washington, because if they both win out, I think they're getting in, which means, one of the SEC, Georgia, Alabama, if Bama beats Georgia, Georgia could be sitting out on this. And that's going to be, people aren't going to be very happy. And then again, Michigan, Ohio State, well, the winner goes, the loser, will go to the other bowl. But that at the end of the day, you won't have two teams in from the SEC or the Big Ten if Florida State and Washington win out.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the way life goes. So
right.
That's what we've got going on today. Let's look at the college games.
Wow. Yeah,
Irish Mike sent me his picks.
Okay.
So we have his picks. Let's start off with that. Ohio State, the big game today at noon on Fox. Finally, it's getting here. Ohio State at Michigan. The Buckeyes are getting 3 and a hook at Michigan. Dave Clark.
I'm taking Ohio State. I was going to take the points, whoever it was. Didn't matter.
Me too.
That's what I'm doing.
3 and a hook.
Yep.
So it could be a field goal game and you win. Let's move on to Kentucky at Louisville. That's noon today. And Louisville's laying 7.5 to Kentucky, who's on the road. Louisville 10-1, Kentucky 6-5.
Wow, that's surprising to me right there.
Yeah. I'm taking Louisville. I like them at home. I know this is kind of the in-state rival, and this game could be very interesting to say the least. It always kind of is. But I've got a feeling that at the end of the day, Louisville will take care of business and win, and they will cover the 7 and a hook. But that does scare me because we know many times that hook can be could spell you lose. You like last week and we'll get into the NFL situation. Anyway, what do you think, Dave Clark, as far as
Louisville's at home too, right?
Louisville's sitting at home?
Yeah, I'm gonna try them too.
Louisville?
Yeah.
Next one is Texas A&M at boy, you know what, with these point spreads, this morning when I looked at this was 13 points. Now it's 12 points. LSU is laying 12 points to Texas A&M. This morning, this was 13 points.
That's because a lot of the vote. That means a lot of the
bettors
are going towards
LSU,
A&M.
Right? Or no, they're taking it to Texas A&M, and they're low. That's they went. You're right. They went the other way. Anyway, not that it matters. It's now 12. When I said it to Irish Mike, it was 13. Not that it would matter.
So we still got it at 13.
We'll use 13 points because that's what it was. Although I usually like to go to 12, so I don't know.
Jalen,
would it matter?
No, it doesn't.
I don't care.
But he already thinks it's 13.
Yeah,
right?
so
leave it.
We'll go 13.
But I'm gonna tell you,
A&M's done. They don't have the coach now.
Right.
Our buddy
Jimbo's
getting $77 million.
He don't care.
Stay at home. So what does he care? He's on his yacht somewhere fishing.
I'm gonna tell you something. I love Caleb. We done talked about that. We already know Caleb is probably the best out there. But we talked about everybody else winning the Heisman. Jalen Daniels. But he probably won't because of their team. But this guy,
is
unbelievable.
He is unbelievable.
He's unbelievable. I'm
he
telling you.
is.
And I watched him at Arizona State with our
good.
favorite coach. We win to play the game. He coached him out of Arizona State. And he's transferred to LSU. This guy is off the charts. I'm taking them.
Yeah, me too. I'll lay the points.
We down in the Bayou. The game is in the Bayou.
Yeah, it's
too,
in the Bayou.
I've seen it advertised.
That's good. That's on noon on ESPN. The problem is obviously I'm not going to see much of that, even though as much as I like Daniels.
Yeah, because it's at noon, isn't it?
It's at noon against Ohio State. So unless you get to it, you can if you have go to YouTube, you can get the 4 games. You can watch all 4.
Yeah. Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, I've got it.
Sometimes I do that. Sometimes I click it and it in that same.
I do that in
thing.
the NFL. It's kind of tough. I could actually watch that in Red Zone in 3 other games.
No, it's great though.
It's great. It's
like you inside the studio,
exactly
of somewhere. It's great.
It's fantastic. Where have we come?
My mind be gone. When I watch
Let's move on. Bama. The Alabama. It's the Iron Bowl, Dave Clark. Iron Bowl, and it's Alabama at Auburn, and the number is 13 points. So Bama is laying 13 points to the Auburn Tigers, the rival game. What's say?
I'm going to take a flyer on this.
You're going to take the Auburn Fighting Tigers?
And how many? 13, right?
You're getting 13 points.
I'm going to take the Auburn Fighting Tigers.
Or are they the War Eagles or both? Yeah, they're both. They go by War Eagles and Fighting Tigers.
Yeah, they're all of them.
They're all of
And
them.
if you want to put some other nicknames on them,
Sure, why not?
I'm going to take them to. I don't know if they can pull the upset, but I just think it's going to be a one of those Alabama Auburn rivals.
Well, it's a 3:30 game on CBS. I'm taking Bama because
they've been playing great.
Bama's playing good.
Yeah.
Millwood, the quarterback, is now getting into the Heisman conversation.
Oh,
he's improved so much from the loss from Texas. He's really working in that game next week. Alabama and it should be Alabama playing Georgia for the title. That's going to be a must-watch game because it almost is a play. It is really a playoff game.
Yeah.
But this will be interesting. Obviously, as we go on, let's go to Arizona playing at Arizona State, and it's 12 points. Arizona is laying 12 points to the home dog, Arizona State. I'm going to take Arizona and lay the points. I might be a mistake. 12 points. Arizona State gets 12 points as a home dog.
That's a hard one.
That's tough.
It's at Arizona State, right?
Yep. Arizona's been playing really good. Arizona State is 3-8.
And Arizona is what?
8-3.
8-3.
So Arizona's probably the third best team out there.
I'm gonna take Arizona this time. I'm thinking about Arizona State, but I'm gonna take Arizona too.
Next one up is Washington State at Washington, and this one's at 15.5. This is a lot of wood. Washington's laying 15.5. Irish Mike took Washington State.
Yeah, I mean, they can absolutely score. They got a lot of talent at the
They
skill
do.
position. And it's 15.
Yeah.
I got to take the 15.
You're going to take the 15.
I'm gonna take the 15.
I'll be the outlier, and I'll take Washington State. I'll take Washington. You want Washington State? You and Irish Mike or Washington State? I'll take Washington. Let's go to Florida State at Florida, and Florida is getting 6 and a hook at home. So Florida State, I think, they've got the third string quarterback, I believe.
Yes.
So they're giving Florida, their rival, 6.5. They're playing in Gainesville. The Gators are playing home game at Gainesville. That's a crazy place to play.
Yeah, I know. If Travis was playing.
If Travis was playing, it would probably be 10 points.
Yeah.
He's worth 3.5 points if he was playing. But it's 6.5. So.
And this guy, I don't know. That's the problem right there. And I still think Florida State's going to win this game.
Can they cover?
Can they cover?
That's 6 and a hook. Do they win by 3 or whatever?
I'm gonna go on a limb and go with Florida State.
You're gonna take Florida State, yeah.
I'm gonna go with them and see if they can win by 7.
I'll take Florida State. Next one up is North Carolina at NC State. Their rival, it's 2 and a hook.
All rival weekend.
It is, and it's 2 and a hook. And so it's NC State is getting 2.5 at home. Boy, that's tough. And they're both 8-3.
Yeah.
And actually, this is interesting. NC State has a better record in conference than North Carolina. NC State is 5-2. Carolina's 4-3.
Wow.
NC State's got the better record.
That makes you want to stay with, and they getting a point.
And they're getting a couple. They're getting 2 and a hook at home.
I'm gonna try them.
You want NC State?
I'm gonna try them. Everything tells me to go North Carolina. Everything tells me to go that way. But
I'll go North Carolina.
I know everything tells me I should go that way too. But
the last one on the docket, I kind of debated. I was going to put Clemson, South Carolina. I didn't. I went with the last game, Iowa State at Kansas State. And Kansas State lays 10 points to Iowa State. That's the game on Fox tonight, 8 o'clock Fox game.
It's at Kansas, right?
Yep, Kansas
No,
State.
is it at Kansas State?
It's Kansas State. They lay 10 points to Iowa State. This one's.
I'm gonna take Iowa State.
You're gonna take the Iowa State and the points.
10.
You're getting 10 points.
Yeah, let me try.
I'll go K-State. I kind of went chalk. I laid a lot of points on all these games. I'll probably only get. Here's our music. We got to get the. We got to talk about the games in the NFL this weekend.
Oh, man.
We got to go. We still got to talk about the Jets. So we'll be back after a timeout.
If you love history, head over to YouTube and check out Blogging Through History. Hosted by Mineral Ridge High School graduate Chris Mowery, Blogging Through History visits historic sites to explore not only the well-known figures and events of the past, but also compelling stories that maybe you've never heard before. Chris would also like to wish his niece Amira Emsch and the Mineral Ridge Rams the best of luck for a successful 2023 season.
Accidents happen. That's why you need Repair That Glass. Specializing in windshield replacement and all other auto glass, we offer a full range of automotive glass repairs. Our technicians can do everything from minor chip repair to a complete replacement. Your windows don't go up or down, they can fix that too, along with custom glass work and antiques. Repair That Glass is a family-run business for over 40 years. Repair That Glass. Call for your appointment now at 330-534-3192.
Experience nature's bounty with Creation's Backyard. Elevate your health with the most nutrient-dense foods on earth. From farm to table, sustainably cultivated with care. Grown locally in Niles, Ohio with no chemicals or synthetics ever. Unlock your culinary creativity with Creation Backyard Microgreens. Convenient local delivery and pickup options available. Order now at creationsbackyard.com or call 330-282-7208.
Let's be real. The odds of a high school athlete getting a college scholarship and making it to the pros are pretty slim. Don't get me wrong. It's okay to dream of becoming a pro athlete, even a famous one. But that's not why I play. My reason why? I love the competition.
My reason why is community.
My reason why is leadership.
My reason why is to challenge myself.
My reason why is love for the game.
And hey, if we don't make it to the pros or onto the cover of Sports Illustrated, that's okay. Because there's every reason to believe we'll excel in something even bigger than sports. We'll excel in life.
There are lots of great reasons to play high school sports. Tell us your reason using the hashtag #MyReasonWhy.
This message presented by the NFHS and the Ohio High School Athletic Association.
Saturday morning sports page back. Pat Lucia, Dave Clark, 330-707-4202. As we talk and get through this Saturday morning. Big game today for the Buckeye fans, obviously out there going up to the team up north, as they refer to them. They are 3.5-point underdog. Can Ryan Day win and at least get on the win column? He's lost 2 in a row. People are like me are comparing him to John Cooper. And that's not a good thing. Win the game, Ryan Day, and you'll get the John Cooper off your back. John Cooper had a horrendous record against Michigan. I believe he was 2-10-1. Jim Tressel was 9-1. Urban Meyer was 7-0 against Michigan. Jim Tressel got Lloyd Carr fired because Lloyd Carr couldn't beat Jim Tressel. Right. That's facts.
Yeah, it is.
I mean,
because Lloyd Carr did an excellent job.
Lloyd Carr is a very good football coach. Lloyd Carr got John Cooper fired, and then Jim Tressel got Lloyd Carr fired.
Yeah,
because John Cooper couldn't beat. Well, John Cooper just really couldn't beat Michigan. He certainly couldn't beat Lloyd Carr, but he couldn't beat Michigan. Jim Tressel just owned Michigan.
Yeah.
9 out of 10 years, he just beat them.
Mm-hmm.
Even when teams were much better, Michigan teams were much better than Jim Tressel's teams, and Tressel would
win it.
The 2004 team of Michigan was loaded. Braylon Edwards. They went count to Ohio State in 2004, and I believe that Michigan was like a 2-touchdown point favorite when they played Ohio State. And they rolled down to the Ohio State University, and Tressel beat them 35-21, I believe. And the way that game mapped out was Michigan scored. They had the ball, and they both teams had scored 14-14.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ohio State shut Michigan out until late in the game. And then Ohio State was 35-14, I believe. And then ultimately, they gave Michigan a touchdown at the end of the game. And that was that. Oh, it was actually 37-21.
Okay.
Is that final on that game. But I remember it because I remember Ohio State. This is how it mapped out. Michigan scored 14 points. I know they had 14 points in the first quarter, and Ohio State scored 7 points in the first quarter. So at the end of the first quarter, Michigan was up 14-7. But then Ohio State got the ball again in the beginning of the second quarter, and they tied it up 14-14. Then Ohio State's kicked 2 field goals, went up 20-14 at half. Then the third quarter, Ohio State put 2 touchdowns on Michigan, and they had an 82-yard punt return that made it 27-14. And then they scored on they had a 10-play, 97-yard drive, scored on a 12-yard touchdown pass, and they made it 34-14. And then the fourth quarter, basically Michigan scored to make it 34, scored a touchdown finally in the fourth quarter to make it 34-20. And then Ohio State kicked the field goal 37-21. But Michigan was a loaded team that year.
Yeah.
And they ultimately ended up getting beat. They went down to Ohio State. They were like a 2-touchdown favorite. And Tressel just basically outcoached Lloyd Carr that day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that hurt because all the Michigan fans thought we ought to win. You know, we are by far the better team.
Yep. That's what happens. So.
But that's what happens. Let's get to the Jets are done. We didn't really get I think it almost fits their season. Right at the end of the half.
Yeah.
They go that he
throws the Hail Mary.
Is it Boylan or
Boyle?
Boyle throws the ball, but he doesn't have enough of the arm to get it into the end zone. It falls short. But Miami, not only they catch it, they intercept it, they run it back for a touchdown.
Yeah, 99 yards. You know, and I don't really fault him. I mean, you just throw it up, give him somebody an opportunity to get the ball, tips, anything of that nature. And that, you know, everybody shouldn't run into the end zone anyway. You should have guys on the outside and in the inside. That's what you really want. So you can try to do a tip. But for him to take it all
Boyle
the way
didn't
back.
have the only thing is if you're going to throw it in the end zone, have a quarterback that has the arm to get it to the end zone.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. I mean, I seen when they showed the play, the rush was on. And if anybody ever seen Boyle, there's no way he doesn't have an arm.
Right.
Because I didn't see him do it before. As far as throwing the football, he could throw it, but that one did not make it.
That didn't make it.
I did see the rush coming from behind. I don't know if he just didn't want to step into it or lean
Maybe
back
that's
and
what
really
it
let
was.
it go. You know, because he probably would have got destroyed. He did, but he you know, something happened there because the arm strength, that's something they never worried about with him. That's one of the reasons, like they said, that's why he was signed, because he could make all the throws. And that's the key. If they told you, I remember during the broadcast, he didn't even have a great season his last college year. But the scouts looked at him and said, this guy make all the throws. He's on a poor Connecticut team.
Right.
And they just said his pro day was good. Then his They bring him to comedy. That was good. You see, he has the pro skills to do it. The arm strength was great. So for him to be in the league, you know that, be able to back up Rodgers in Green Bay, go to other places, be there, people sign him right away. But, regardless if it's short or not, somebody got to tackle the guy.
You got to tackle the guy.
And
You got to
guys were
tackle
nowhere
the interceptor.
Yeah, I've seen a couple guys jump around like, oh, it's intercepted. Yes, intercepted.
Yeah, but
just
you
go
got
after
to
him.
do something.
Yeah.
Yes.
And this
That
guy
doesn't
runs
mean
it.
okay, lay down and go. No, you got to tackle the guy who caught the ball. You just can't sit around and complain. Yeah, it got intercepted.
I mean, and they were right there with the defense when you got guys
Right.
intercepting, pick six,
and
2 plays later, another pick
I
by
know.
DJ Reed. But then they turn around and throw the Hail Mary, and then it turns into 6.
And it turned into
It
6
was just
the other
done.
way.
The offense is horrifying.
Oh man,
There's no line.
Well, they're done.
Yeah.
They're 4
Oh,
and
yeah.
7. The game, their
They were
season
already
is
done a couple
finished.
weeks ago.
Rodgers isn't. I got news memo. Rodgers isn't coming back.
No, he shouldn't come back.
No,
And they
no.
showed him where he's jogging, and usually that doesn't even happen now.
Right.
He's way ahead of schedule.
No, he's way
But
ahead of schedule.
Don't hurt yourself coming back. They can't do anything.
But he should not come back because they're done.
Yeah.
They're not getting in the playoffs.
leave
They're
him out.
finished. They're 4 and 7. They're
Yeah.
going to continue to downward spiral.
Yeah,
They have
just
no
wait till next
quarterback.
season.
The GM screwed up. He went in there with Zach Wilson being the backup to Rodgers, which was a horrendous mistake.
Yep.
You needed a better plan B. You needed a better backup.
I would have
And
had another
you should have
veteran
we beat
and
this.
still
Yes,
keep Zach Wilson. I would have kept him.
I would have kept him third string. I would have brought in
Right.
Teddy Bridgewater to be the guy, to be my backup.
What's that other guy? What's the other guy you always name? And I know him too. I can't. His name won't come to me. But he was the Vikings. Took him all the way to the championship game. And he was at the Browns. He's the backup.
Case Keenum. You could have brought in either Case Keenum or Bridgewater and have those as your
I'd been
backup.
fine right
Quality backups.
Yep.
Won't lose
And
games.
keeps
Manage the
active
game.
And think Rodgers for 2 years. He gets to learn under him. He might have been a better quarterback by then. Yeah, but he didn't have
No.
He was forced to go back.
He's just not ready to play.
And he was forced to go back because
Right.
who knew that after 4 plays, Aaron Rodgers' season would be over. So
And that's it.
yeah, and that's why you shouldn't put that predicament on him. You should.
That's
have
the
had him.
GM.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's on Douglas.
That falls on Douglas.
All the
That's
way.
squarely on his shoulders. I know Salah's getting a lot of heat.
Yeah,
But I'll actually give him a pass here because that's just he did not have the quarterback, and you need it. And we've talked about it countless times on this show, and I've heard more. You need a quarterback to compete. Look at Bill Belichick with no Tom Brady. He's won 1 playoff game. Bill Belichick's playoff record without Tom Brady is 1 and 2 in his coaching career with no Tom Brady.
yeah. Who did he win with? It's way a long time ago.
I think it was Vinny Testaverde. That's the game that Belichick won. He won with Vinny Testaverde. Was the playoff? Was the one game he won? Was the quarterback for the Browns? He won. It was Vinny Testaverde.
Okay.
They were kind of talking about it the other day. His record, Bill Belichick has 179 games without Tom Brady. His record is 82 and 97. 82 and 97. He's 1 and 2 in the playoffs. Let's go ahead with that note and fly to the Saints at the Falcons, Dave Clark. Buddy, this is one of those games. I don't know where to tell you. It was the Falcons. How does this roll out? The Falcons now are -2.
Oh, the Falcons?
-2 Falcons. So now the Falcons went from getting a point to -2. So Falcons are laying 2 points to the Saints. Both these teams come off buys. Do you flip a coin or you go with the home team? The Falcons are in first place in that South division, which is ugly. And the Saints are 5-5. The Falcons are 4-6, tied with the Buccaneers at 4-6. But this game is 1 o'clock Fox game. It might be a little bit on the yawn side, but you never know. But actually, this is a big game because, again, the Falcons can actually beat the Saints and tie for first place.
Where's the game at?
Down in Atlanta. One dome and another dome.
Yeah,
Saints
but they
dome.
always play well. Those
but they always
teams
play well.
I'm gonna take Saints.
All right. You know what? I was going to go Falcons, but the more I think this through, I think the Saints are basically a better team. And I'll take the 2 points. Let's go to the Bengals and the Steelers. And boy, this game is absolutely on the brutal side of brutal. Actually, now the Bengals are getting 2 and a hook. It went from 1. So the Bengals get 2 and a hook at home. They have no quarterback. Obviously, Burrow being out, their season is over. The Steelers, some people say they don't have a quarterback and their season is over, but the Steelers are 6-4, Bengals 5-5. This game could be ugly too, because again, Kenny Pickett, again, now he has a new offensive coordinator. Can the new offensive coordinator make the difference, turn it around, and maybe the Steelers win this game? Matt Canada is not there anymore.
Like I told you, what I say, Ken Dorsey, get him out.
Rumor has it that Matt Canada has put his job application in with Gessler Propane, and he's looking for a job here. That's just a rumor, and I know that's probably not a right thing to say, but since we have the owner of this great, fine building in our studio, Bob Gessler, I had to bring that up.
Right.
That's just a vicious rumor out there. It hasn't been confirmed, and I'm going to confirm that with Bob Gessler here in the studio. Matt Canada has put his job application here at Gessler Propane in Southers, Ohio.
He might make some bad decisions
But
for us. So
I don't know.
I'm gonna go on a limb. Where's this game at?
Cincinnati.
I'm gonna go with the home team.
You're gonna go take the Bengals.
I'm taking Jake Browning in his Washington days. He was good in Washington.
All right. I'm gonna I'll go the other way just because I think
Pittsburgh should
the only reason why I'm going the other way is because I saw it with Buffalo last week, a new offensive coordinator kind of revitalized the offense. I'm gonna go that direction. That'll be the difference in the game. The new O coordinator will give Pickett a little bit of a better lease on life, sort of, to speak.
The only reason I'm going Bengals is he can get the ball in the hands of Chase.
Right.
Or Boyd.
Right.
They can win.
You're right.
Just with that.
That's going to be the key.
And let Mixon have a good game, and they can win that game.
The problem's going to be that Bengal offensive line has not been playing well.
Yeah.
And if Browning is, being the new... He's got to keep them short.
Three-step drops. Get it
boom,
to these guys.
boom, boom. You got
those guys can make people miss. Chase get the ball in space. He can make people miss.
Yes, he can. Let's move on to the next game, which could I think this might be an ugly game of the year. The Panthers are 1-9. They're also, rumor has it.
Hey, Frank Reich.
Rabel might be. No, Frank Reich could be also competing for a job at Gessler here. He and Matt Canada are applying because I think Frank Reich is a one and done. Why are all these fired coaches coming here for a job? I have no idea. But anyway, we move on. The Panthers are at the Titans. And the Panthers, the 1-9, are getting 3 and a hook on the road. Yes. So Tennessee hasn't played well at all. I thought for a while there that they looked like they were kind of turning the corner. But boy, they got beat last week. The Jags, 34-14. They lost last week. They were never in that game. And obviously the Panthers got absolutely boat raced by the Cowboys 33-10, which is no surprise.
I'm going to still take Tennessee.
Yeah, I have to take Tennessee.
Just because of Brady.
And lay the 3 and a hook.
I think he'll do it. Yep.
Yeah, I got to take. Will Levis is probably going to have a good game against the Panthers, although he hasn't played well lately. I think he'll get well against the Panthers and win. But I would not be surprised if the Panthers don't win either.
But I'm gonna go. I got to go that way.
Let's go with the next game. The Bucks are at the. I always want to call them the Baltimore Colts. God, it's the Indianapolis Colts. They've been there for almost 40 years, but I still like to call them the Baltimore Colts.
Sounds better.
It does sound better. I never still bought. They should have changed the name. Make them the Indianapolis Speed Racers or something. But anyway, I digress. Let's look at the Bucks are at the Colts, 2.5. The Bucks, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield get 2.5 on the road. They're at the Colts playing in the Dome.
That's a hard one right there.
That is just this is one of those games. Minshew's the quarterback for the Bucks. I mean the Colts, and obviously Baker's the.
I'm gonna take Baker in the Bucks.
Man,
that's a hard one. But
That's a horrible. All right,
plays well too, so
I'll take the Colts. The next game, boy, they do have some ugly games this week. I'm sorry.
I bet it's going to be good because they look terrible on paper.
They do.
It'll probably be great to watch.
Okay, here's the next one. The New England Patriots 2-8 taking on the Giants. They're at Meadowlands, 49 degrees and probably always going to be windy there. At MetLife Stadium. The Patriots are getting 3 and a hook. The Giants are getting 3 and a hook. The Giants get 3 and a hook. I think Giants get 3 and a hook at home. Got a home dog. The Giants 3 and a hook. This is two ugly teams playing. Because we found out last week that DeVito, the Giants quarterback, it's Tommy DeVito. He's not related to Liberty DeVito, who was a drummer for Billy Joel. But he's not related to Danny DeVito either.
Yeah, I'll take him in a minute if he's related.
If he's related.
That's my guy.
But now he's not related to Carla DeVito because she's the singer who married Robbie Benson, who was on One-on-One. He was at 1970. I digress.
I don't know.
You follow the names, it takes you different places. Anyway, I got to get back because this is such a bad game. I'm digressing. But anyway, let's look at the Patriots at the Giants. What do you want? I guess I'll take the Giants and the hook and the points.
It's
3.5. The Giants get 3.5 at home. And the Patriots are a train wreck.
I know.
And their quarterback has but the quarterback's got no confidence.
Is he starting Mac Jones?
I don't know yet. I don't know if Bailey Zappi doesn't even belong in the league. He's terrible, and Mac Jones doesn't belong in the league. I think DeVito might be of all three. He might be the best quarterback of all of them. He played good last week against.
I'm going to limb. I'm going to go on a limb to Bill Belichick is going to win today.
All right. Who's his quarterback?
Or tomorrow.
Who's his quarterback going to be?
I'll go with Zappi.
Zappi
showed me something last year sometimes.
He did against the one team.
You're in a bad situation. Sometimes the situation is bad.
No, that's bad. That's bad football. That team, they're two bad teams going at it. Let's get on. Now, the next game is actually really a good game. And that's the 1:00 game. If you have your YouTube, you want to watch the best game at 1:00 to me is the Jags at the Texans. And actually, this is all over the board, but now it's 2 points. The Texans are getting 2 points at home against the Jags. You got two teams, very good teams, I think. Texans are 6-4. The Jags are 7-3.
That's a good one. And Texans is getting how much?
2. The Texans
take the Texans.
You got a home dog getting 2.
I like how DeMeco Ryans got.
And they already beat this game is big because Texans beat the Jags already this year. They win. If the Texans win and beat the Jags again,
they're first place.
They got the tie, and they got the first place. They got the tiebreaker.
Yep. Well, it's going to be a good one. I'm taking the Texans.
I was focusing in on taking the Jags but I'm looking. The Jags need the game a little bit more than the Texans, but I think the Texans are playing pretty good. I think it's going to be a real close game either way. And since it's going to be a close game, I'll go Texans because I'll take the couple points because you might need those points.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Let's go to the next one. The Browns at the Broncos. And that's a 1 and a hook. So the Browns get 1 and a hook on the road against the Broncos. The Broncos lost.
Browns fan, you got terrible memories of anything in Denver.
Oh,
all
yeah.
I say.
Elway.
Yeah, I hate that.
John Elway.
Woo-wee. I don't like even thinking about that stuff.
So you got 1.5.
I'm going to take
the Broncos. At Broncos at home, but the Browns have the best defense in football.
Yeah, no.
The problem is the quarterback
situation. And then the Broncos.
And the
It's
Broncos,
coming on. Their defense is playing much better.
They
The
beat
offense is better.
They beat the Vikings last week
Oh,
22-21, but if they made the 2-point conversion, they didn't cover because it was 2 and a hook. They didn't cover, but if Russell Wilson makes the 2-point conversion, you would have covered. See, last week I had the Broncos and lost because if they would have got the 2-point conversion, they win. You had the Vikings, you won. And that 2-point conversion was the difference. So all those
I'm gonna take the Browns and take, what is it, a point?
Point and a half.
Point and a half. Let's see if they can, kill those demons of Bronco land.
I don't know.
Oh,
the
my
Broncos are
goodness.
back. They're 5-5.
Oh, no, they're playing well. They're
playing good.
Only thing I'm mad, I just gotta throw it out at the NFL. Why is Kareem Jackson suspended again?
Yeah, what did
we
he
playing tag football?
What happened to him? Yeah, what?
Because that hit on Joshua
Oh,
Dobbs,
yeah, that's right. He got in trouble
and
with
that
the
wasn't even no spin. That's just a regular hit.
That was a
right in the
regular hit.
chest,
I don't know.
Dislodged the ball. He's suspended for 4 games. He said he might retire. When they interviewed him, he said he doesn't ask for explanations. This is the second time suspended. He wants to know why is he suspended, and they won't tell him. So they won't send the film. They're supposed to send him film and everything. They haven't done it. Yeah, he said he may retire. He don't know how to play.
All right, I'll move on that. I got to make a decision. I'll let's see the Broncos and the Browns. Boy, I'm just not a fan of the quarterback yet. He's just so young. I'll take the Broncos. It probably did him a favor because if I pick him, I mean it's the George Costanza of football picks. Rams are at the Cardinals. The Cardinals are getting 2 and a hook at home against the Rams. I'm taking the Cardinals.
I'm taking the Rams.
Okay. Let's move on to the Chiefs at the Raiders. And now this is 10 points. The Raiders are getting 10 points at home. I'm taking the Chiefs because I'm not going against Pat Mahomes. I think the Chiefs got too much going. I think the Raiders are going to play tough.
Yeah,
They didn't. Miami did not cover last week against the Raiders.
This is in Kansas City.
It's in Raiderland, and they're getting 10 points at home.
I'm going with the Raiders.
Yeah, I almost
tried.
I almost did. I hate going against Mahomes.
I know.
Let's go to the big game. The Bills are at the Eagles. That's the Sunday afternoon 4:25 game. Yeah. Bills at the Eagles 3.5. The Eagles laying 3.5 to the Bills. Oh, now it's 3. It moves all the time. It's 3 points. So
I'm not gonna go against my team anyway. So
I'm taking
I'm
the
kind of
Eagles.
nervous of this Buffalo thing, but I'm gonna stay Philly.
Yeah, I am too.
It's in Philly too, right?
Yeah, it's in Philly. 3 points.
We got to maul them.
Maybe
we gotta do something.
maybe the new offensive coordinator will do something for Buffalo, and they could pull an upset. I can't bet against the best team in football. The Eagles have the best line. They're the best team in football. Kansas City is second. I have the Eagles first. Kansas City being second team in football. Kansas City to me with Mahomes is just always going to win, or going to get you there.
Yeah.
And I'll lay the 10 points. Although I part of me wants to go to the Raiders because I think they're going to keep it close. That's why I might flip that. But let's move on to the Ravens are at the Bolts, man. And to me, that's the next coach who's losing. Staley's gone.
Yeah, he's gone.
He's the next guy gone.
Yeah.
That's 3 and a hook.
Give me Baltimore.
No, it's Baltimore lays 3 and a hook. So the San Diego Chargers, who we always call them the San Diego Chargers because that's who they really are. The Chargers are getting 3 and a hook at home against Baltimore, and that is the Sunday night game.
Yeah, I'm taking Baltimore.
Yeah, I can't. I cannot take the Chargers. I am sorry.
Lamar Jackson has shown me something. He can still run, but he's shown me he's a quarterback all around now. Finally. I mean, he really is. He shows.
And the Monday nighter is the Bears are at the Vikings, and it's -3 points. So the Bears get 3 points on the road.
Yeah, that's all right. I'm still taking the Vikings.
I got to take the Vikings. Yeah. I mean, although I have
but I think they'll play him good. With Fields is a wild card. He doesn't throw great, but he makes big plays with them feet.
I would not be surprised, and I'm almost tempted to change it, but it wouldn't surprise me if the Bears don't win that damn game. I would not be shocked if the Bears at all.
I won't be shocked
because
I just didn't know Dobbs could run that good.
Right,
he runs pretty good too.
Dobbs runs really good.
No,
right.
Yeah, He should be there. They need to have Brissett or
Right.
Dobbs.
Now, the only thing
right
we've
now.
got to address is Gessler's got to interview these guys coming in today.
Yeah.
Canada's coming in at 1 o'clock to interview for the job here at Gessler's studio. And when the other guys get fired, they're all going to come here and work. Rivera. All right, that's it. Everybody, it's just the music.
Black
We're
Monday's
done.
coming soon.
That's right. Everybody have a great, safe week. Do not drink and do not drive. Buckle up. Go Buckeyes over Michigan today. Keep a good thought. Saturday morning sports page, Matt Lucia, Dave Clark. We'll do it again next week on Western Reserve Radio.
Hi, it's Mark Means.